Point, John, there is a lot of conspiracy with The Simpsons. Since Alex brought it up, back in 1999, The Simpsons actually predicted that we would have a COVID outbreak.
Right.
So to think that they somehow knew that that was going to happen, I don't know. It's a little weird.
Yeah, there was also a situation where Nike predicted, in a way, of Kobe Bryant's helicopter disaster in a commercial. So that was really something to watch out for. You should Google it, folks, because it's very scary.
Yeah.
In terms of what was projected in that particular commercial. Well, that does it for us this lovely President's Day.
That's right. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow. Great to have you this morning. News Now is next.
He tells it like it is, with decades covering Washington and the really big stories. Ed Henry cuts through the noise and gives you the facts you need to know. Watch Ed on The Briefing tonight on Newsmax 2. Nothing is off limits to David Harris Jr., and there's no apologies, because he's armed with common sense, real faith, and the truth. Don't miss him on The Pulse tonight.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes. And it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-355-9660.
You're watching theDove TV, encouraging and informative for Bend and Central Oregon. Seen on KBND 14 and these Dove TV affiliates. Good morning. You're tuned to theDove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on theDove.
Yes, this is. Welcome to the morning show.
Look who's here.
I am here, yes.
Yes, Paulina. All right.
Yes, here, and Jerry.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, yes. Grab your coffee. Let's get this show going.
That's right. Let's get the week going. You're going to be with us all week long.
I am, yes. Perry is in Nashville. The National Religious Broadcasters Convention is happening this week, and this is their once-a-year gathering that they're having. So Perry's representing theDove, meeting people, getting awards, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff, and we can't wait till he gets home because we find out all the events that took place, the awards that were given out, and all the little free tchotchkes that come home with Perry.
Yes.
Yeah, we get pens and tablets and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, the last couple of times he was smart in terms of getting it all here. He just shipped the box instead of putting it in his suitcase.
Yeah.
And so a few days after NRB is over, we'll get this shipment and he'll just put it all out there on the table, free for all.
I wonder if he walks around with a shopping bag, because he's going to the different booths and the different displays and picking things up. Yeah.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they give you a little bag there.
Okay.
I've never been, but
I haven't either.
from some of the pictures I've seen on those conventions, you get a little bag with the logos and stuff. So, yeah.
All right.
How was your weekend?
Oh, pretty good. You watching the Olympics at all?
I haven't. I used to love Olympics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and actually, well, yeah, I used to, and I see bits and pieces just on social media.
Yeah,
I love figure
yeah.
skating. I love those kind of things.
Pam too. She really likes it, and I try to, be equal opportunity, and I try to sit and watch with her. I have limited interest in it. I would rather see, when it comes to skating, I want to see somebody check somebody into the boards, take the puck, and go down the rink.
Those could be fun. What is it, bobsled?
Bobsled, yeah.
I like that.
And then there's luge, where you lay down on a sled feet first and you head down at 70 miles an hour. And then there's called skeleton, where you flip around the other way. Now you go head first at 77 miles an hour. Yeah.
I blame social media for my lack of interest in Olympics.
Okay, why?
Because there's so much else on my phone. I can look at all those reels that suck you in.
Yeah.
But when I was little and, growing up in Siberia, what else are you going to do?
Right.
You don't really have, you have 2 channels. And so when Olympics came on, it was a big deal. And
was it good coverage?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd be glued to TV. You'd be rooting for your country, for others that you get to know.
Yes.
Counting the medals. So I loved it. I still do. I just don't have time to watch because I'm watching reels.
Yeah, okay. Well, the nice thing about the way we watch these days is that the way that the networks have coverage, you have some options.
Yeah.
So you can watch a live event. You can watch the network coverage later in the day where they've condensed it and put the package together. Or you can watch replays of the full events themselves, which is kind of cool because when you watch a replay, after the event is over, they stay in the venue as they get ready for the medal ceremony. So you get to see the competitors talking to each other, interacting, congratulating each other, and all this stuff that goes on. And you kind of get a feel for the venue and the crowd and stuff. It's a little bit more personal, but so I've been enjoying that.
With the advance of technology where everyone can record stuff, now we're seeing a lot more than we used to. We used to just see what they were showing us. Now the athletes themselves are bringing us behind those curtains.
And of course, we always look at the Olympics and we look at all these competitors from different countries, all showing generally pretty good sportsmanship. They all get along, and we think,
until they get a mic.
Right. Yeah, can't we just all get along and leave that other stuff behind us? It's kind of fun for those reasons. But
it is. You're right.
But you're right.
That's a great. That's a great point, because when you watch Olympics, you kind of wonder, why can't the world and the world leaders do the same?
Yeah. And in fact, I think back a story I read about the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin, and of course that was Hitler's, a big Olympic and showcase for Germany and everything. And Jesse Owens disrupted everything. A great athlete from the United States, and of course, he was a black athlete and hurt all of Hitler's stereotypes of, of race and everything. But he was in the long jump competition, and he had his mark wrong, and he was fouling on his jumps, and he had only 1 jump left, and he was long. And the German competitor, who was in first place, went off to the side with him and talked to him how to adjust his stance, helped him. He nailed the next jump, won the gold medal for it, and the German competitor got silver. And I thought, you know what? And what did he get after the Olympics? I don't know the rest of that story, but it's a great example of that type of sportsmanship that goes on during the Olympics. So hopefully we'll see more of that. And guess what else it is today?
What?
It is President's Day, taking place during the birth month of our country's 2 most prominent presidents, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. While the day once honored George Washington on his birthday, February 22nd, the day now never lands on a single president's birthday.
Never, never?
Never,
Oh, 'cause
never.
it's the
No,
third
they
Monday.
picked it because it's president, so anyway. It's also...
Well, hold on. Let me ask you this, because you're a history buff.
I like history.
You love
yeah,
history.
yeah.
What's your? Do you have a favorite president?
Well, I think it's hard not to have Abraham Lincoln as your favorite president. You know, the first Republican president, the party that started to stop slavery, and the man who did everything he could to keep the country together. And so, yeah, I think, you know, there are a lot of admirable presidents after that. Who could not love Ronald Reagan? And, of course, we, you know, look at our current president. We're not done with the impact that he's going to have. But yeah, I think gut reaction, first one would be Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham,
Yeah.
okay.
So, I like this. It's National Do a Grouch a Favor Day. A grouch is a habitually irritable or complaining person. A grumbler. That is according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So surprise a grouch today. Do something nice for a grouch. And if you're the grouch, do something for yourself. Change your attitude.
Win them with a smile.
That's right. It's also National Almond Day. Whether you're eating them by themselves using almond milk, pasta flour, butter, oil, or meal, almonds offer a delicious flavor along with many health benefits. They are one of the most heart-healthy foods on the market. And, of course, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, scientific evidence suggests, but that doesn't prove, that eating 1.5 ounces per day of nuts such as almonds is part of may reduce your risk of heart disease. It's a delicious nut native to the Middle East and thrives in warm, dry climates and mild winters. So 80% of the world's almonds are now grown in California.
I was going to say, California is not Middle East.
California, and we're
But
watching them. Yeah.
We have quite a few farms there.
We're watching almond harvest here, and they have a tree shaker. Have you ever seen that before?
I've seen it in vineyards.
Isn't that awesome?
That
And then they come and they vacuum up the almonds and they make their way down. But I like the tree shakers.
Cool, yeah.
Those are really cool.
And they do them with other fruit. I forgot which ones I've seen. But
there are
anyway,
other products,
yeah.
Absolutely. So that's all we got. Enjoy your almonds and do a grouch a favor today.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you mentioned before we went on air that it's there's a snowstorm coming. I don't know if it's today or not, so let's check out our weather with Jerry.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With a front bringing winter conditions to our area today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing with rain as we move down the Willamette Valley and snow levels around 1,600 feet with daytime high temperatures in the mid-40s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with lows in the mid-30s. Starting with rain and snow across central Oregon, then snow with highs in the mid-40s in Prineville, near 40 in Bend and 38 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, a slight chance of rain in upper 50s with rain and snow overnight. Rain along the Oregon coast with maybe a mix of rain and snow in Coos Bay with daytime highs near 49 in Coos Bay, low 50s in Port Orford and Brookings, and near 53 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with winter storm warnings tonight and daytime highs in the low to mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Rain and snow with a high near 43 in Klamath Falls. Into northern California with rain and snow in mid-40s in Wairika. Rain with wind advisories this afternoon from Redding through Chico and Sacramento with highs in the low to mid-50s. In the Bay Area, rain with coastal flood advisories and daytime highs in the low 50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 55 in San Francisco and 54 in San Jose, with a northwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Well, this is what we're looking at right now.
We're looking at Rogue Valley. We see a couple little pockets of fog, but not much.
It looks so pretty. It looks like we live in, big city.
It kind of looks like the LA Basin.
Yeah.
It really does. So enjoy your day. Well, we have Pastor Anthony George. He shows how we can be a true success through the story of Noah.
In fact, Noah didn't even have any converts outside of his family. But the ones that God wanted to get onto the the boat got on the boat, and it was Noah and his wife and their 3 sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives. And this is something that helps me in times when I have been so discouraged as a pastor. In every church I've ever served, I've always been fueled by a desire to see every seat filled. And it comes from the words of Jesus, where he said, go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. And so I can't help but think Jesus wants his house filled with people seeking him and worshiping him. And there have been many times, even before I came to Atlanta, when I was concerned or felt defeated, because I was using as my only basis of success how many people were coming to the services. And I look back to the example of Noah, and Noah understood his definition of success could not be how many people got onto the boat with him. His definition of success was simply doing what God told him to do and leaving the rest up to God. I'm convinced that there are many people who are a success in the world's eyes, but a failure in God's eyes. And conversely, the same is true. There are many people who are a failure in the world's eyes, but who are a success in God's eyes.
It's a great message, because it really boils down to defining success. And if we're going to define success through the eyes of the world, we're going to fall short.
That's
period.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can define any success in our headlines today and what our government is doing. Some of the top stories for this Monday. The DOJ, Department of Justice, has sent over the weekend a letter to Congress that is related to Epstein files. It's a 6-page letter. It contains the names of, quote, all government officials and politically exposed persons whose names appear in the Epstein material. Now, the kicker is they've included everything. So anyone who ever appeared in a conversation, letters, any of that. So people like Michael Jackson, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Janis Joplin, she died when Epstein was 17. So all those names have been released as being connected to Epstein. So of course the DOJ is getting a lot of flack on X, saying like, what are you guys doing? Why are you giving us this long list? Now some say that they don't have to sort through it. They're doing what they're told, just releasing the names. So maybe there is nothing wrong there, but not sure if we're going to get anywhere with this. You guys watched and followed some of the hearings that were happening last week. Pam Bondi there with the representatives, was it in the House? In the House,
Congressional inquiry,
Well, yesterday, one of the Republicans who've been kind of hawk on this one, Thomas Massie, was on ABC, and he was asked whether he trusts Pam Bondi as an Attorney General.
I don't think Pam Bondi has confidence in Pam Bondi. She wasn't confident enough to engage in anything but name-calling in a hearing. And so, no, I don't have confidence in her. She hasn't got any sort of accountability there at the DOJ. When I asked her specifically who redacted Leslie Wexner's name from the one document that mattered, she couldn't give me an answer. She wouldn't give me an answer. But ultimately, it's her who is responsible for the document production, according to our law, the Attorney General. It's not Todd Blanche. It's not the people below them. You can assign tasks to people, but you can't assign your responsibility.
So we'll see where it goes from here. We have the names, we have the files.
It's all political theater, I think, and I just keep going back to the fact that obviously the Democrats had all of these files throughout the complete Biden administration. There was no there when they had it. Otherwise, we would have heard about it. There was no, people up in arms on the Democrat side about redactions, about not releasing material. It was not an issue whatsoever. Let me remind you, Epstein was a Democrat who funded Democrats, who hung out with Democrats. And, oh, by the way, the current president actually called the police and tipped him off and said, you need to get after this guy. So, again, it's all political theater. They're going to do as much as they can with it. But I think it still boils down to a nothing burger. period.
Do you think it's boiling to a nothing burger in terms of the findings or in terms of what actually happened?
I think in the findings, it's going to be interesting if we ever find out what actually happened.
Yeah. Because he was charged. Ghislaine Maxwell is
Right.
in prison, and
Right.
yet there is no one been trafficked, and yet there are victims in the room.
Right. Well, and they
How do
have,
you reconcile
well,
all
they
those
also have a
things?
problem with it, Paulina, in the fact that some of these girls were drawn in. They were paid to, you know, for their, you know, services.
Yeah.
And then they were recruited as you know, to bring others in, and many did, and
Yeah.
they were paid, and they became part of the conspiracy during that process. So they're trying. It's a very difficult situation weighing out victimhood in this because of the way that it went. But will we get to the bottom of this? The very bottom? I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe not on this side of heaven, with the way
Good
things
point.
are complicated and covered up. I am disappointed in this administration's handling it because they ran on the promise of giving us the answers. And even if there's nothing to give, still do it because you promised.
Yeah.
But here we are, so we'll see what happens. Maybe some more developments this week. There are some developments in the Nancy Guthrie's case. There are a couple of stories over the weekend. One breakthrough is the glove that was found not far from the house. I mean, it's not the first glove that they found. Apparently there were some others, but this one has some DNA that they're testing.
And apparently this matches the glove that they have on the video. Now, I think it's interesting. You brought up the fact this isn't the only glove they found. Now, I, for the first time, heard that on the way in this morning. I'm listening to a news report, and they said that they've actually found 16 other gloves.
16?
16! And you know what the other gloves were?
No.
They were gloves used by searchers that had been discarded carelessly.
Oh my gosh.
So you're compromising a crime scene, and you're by throwing your own, and you're just throwing them down. It really caught me off guard. I thought, what is going on here?
Well, there have been some missteps in this investigation already.
Huge.
Another interesting news bit I heard that apparently there is a helicopter with a signal sniffer that is flying around looking for the pacemaker signal in Nancy Guthrie. Yeah. Her pacemaker got disconnected from the app that they used that night that she disappeared. So Sunday morning.
Right.
But apparently these signals can be found even if the pacemaker is not working anymore. I mean, there's still some kind of so they're looking, but no arrests.
And it's sad. I heard the daughter, Savannah, this morning, another plea. And it's just hard to listen to because she sounds so defeated and so down. And you can only just empathize with her.
Oh, I know. It breaks your heart.
Yes.
You can't, I mean, everyone has a mom.
Yes.
And we all can feel it. But in fact, we do have that video. Savannah posted the now third plea that they recorded.
Yeah.
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is, that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah, like what do you say?
Oh,
you know, you always have that hope. It's hard to imagine what she's going through, what the family's going through, to know that your mom suffered, you know, just having that encounter with whoever came to her house, no matter how it ended, that was a shock. Just to know that your mom lived through that, and then hoping that she's still somewhere living through this. Anyway, you know, all you can do is just pray, like you said,
and
sympathize.
that's, and I'm sure that there are millions who are praying. I hope people continue.
And I heard today that, I don't know if that's news or not, but that she's considering leaving the Today Show.
Is she really? Oh.
Because from what I heard, again, I'm not sure if it's just a speculation, that her public life is what possibly led to this.
It may be,
and so it's just, I can imagine it'd be too hard to continue doing something that had potentially resulted in the disappearance or loss of your mom. So, all right, slightly change of course. I don't know if you guys covered it, because it actually happened a few days before, earlier, Puerto Rico recognizing unborn babies as human beings.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh,
yeah, that was an interesting headline, but it kind of started popping up over the weekend. Puerto Rico's Republican governor on Thursday signed a bill that amends the law to recognize unborn baby as a human being. This is apparently, they're trying to do consistency between civil and criminal provisions there, and the law affirms that it would be a first-degree murder if someone willingly or unwillingly kills a, not unwillingly, but knowingly that she's a pregnant woman. So there would be a double homicide. Also, apparently now you can do inheritance to, like there's some inheritance laws that are going into effect, some benefits. So it's an interesting one. It doesn't ban abortion, because abortion is under a different system, but it's a step towards it. And in fact, we do have a soundbite from Alfonso Aguilar. He's a senior director of government affairs at Defending Education, and he's a Puerto Rican American, and he says this is a step in the right direction towards hopefully eventually banning abortion.
Puerto Ricans are pro-life. They've always been very pro-life, pro-family. So for many years, they were trying to do something, but they found all sort of political roadblocks. But then finally, I think things gelled. And we have a governor now who's a Republican and pro-life. And we have some great legislators, and they worked on this creative, innovative idea to amend the civil code of Puerto Rico and recognize that the unborn, the baby that hasn't yet been born, is a person, a natural and legal person. And that means so much in terms of changing the culture. This is not just a clump of cells. This is a individual subject to rights, with rights. He'll be the unborn now can receive different types of benefits under Puerto Rican family law, inheritance. So it does also have some important legal consequences. Now, it doesn't change the law in Puerto Rico about abortion, which is regulated by the penal code. And abortion is allowed in Puerto Rico when the life and health of the mother is at risk and under authorization from a doctor. But I think what this law will do is restrict how abortion is understood under that definition of the criminal code of Puerto Rico. So I think it will be limited as the legal system understands that we're dealing here with an individual. So hopefully this will put us in track to eventually totally ban abortion.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
My goodness.
Even the way.
We have seen, you know, in the past, the personhood movement, and I think it's huge when you realize that an unborn baby is actually not a clump of cells, but it's a person, and it kind of changes everything. But it seems as though Puerto Rico is well on the right track. And I know that they still have abortion in Puerto Rico, but I didn't realize it was not abortion on demand, that it's for for medical reasons,
circumstances,
which, you know, that opens up a whole different can of worms and debate. But that is movement in the right direction. All
right, well, we also have some news in the Oregon election, so we'll talk about that after the break. Go get a refill on your coffee.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Weekday mornings on the Dove, it's one of the longest running shows in broadcast history, the 700 Club. Informative, with the day's stories from a biblical perspective.
Israel finds itself fighting.
Trusted investigative reporting.
Our chief political analyst, David.
Encouraging with uplifting stories of faith.
And then she heard a prayer. I immediately felt the Holy Spirit.
Be encouraged and informed with the 700 Club. Weekdays at 11 on the Dove TV. Get more at thedove.us.
Welcome back to the morning show. Well, it is election year here in Oregon. We are going to have a gubernatorial race, and other races, Senate, and one of the names that we were expecting to be in a run, Senator Jeff Golden, has announced in a news release on Friday that he plans to retire at the end of his current term and will withdraw his filing for re-election. He wrote in the statement that the weeks leading up to the session have been, quote, a particularly intense time both in my personal and professional life, end of quote. He was set to face Dennis Krause in the Democratic primary race and now will not seek that re-election. On the Republican side, Brett Hicks, former chief executive of the Chamber of Medford, has officially announced his candidacy for Golden's state Senate seat in mid-October, and his campaign is in full swing. So Jeff Golden, a Democrat from Ashland, says he will remain engaged in politics. He just will not continue officially serving in his seat. So best of luck to Senator Golden as he retires at the end of this term. Now, some fun news. Brit Festival. Do you go? Are you a fan?
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay, so, and this is for those who are not familiar, here in Southern Oregon, it's one of the attractions in Jacksonville. We have this music festival. Then in the summer, it has Under the Sky Amphitheater, and we have concerts and just so much fun going on there. And the whole town of Jacksonville just comes alive, and also there's no parking.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So you've been?
Yeah. Oh, I've been multiple times. I think most of us in Southern Oregon have. We get some great quality acts here. It's a great scene. And it is hard to park.
Yeah. Well, they did release a few more names over the weekend, announced 6 more artists, including country star Jake Owen, folk group Shaky Graves, and some others. There will be another release, a third round of announcements on March 13th. But they're lining up artists. You know, we're in February, so just a few months from now, they're going to have their kind of official season opening, even though there are some other concerts happening throughout the year. And of course, they have their orchestra that is playing throughout the summer.
Last year, we went and saw the California Honey Drippers.
Yeah? How was it?
Fabulous. And they're coming back this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
so some of the artists are coming back.
Go see them. They are really good.
All right.
All right.
Well, how's it going with the weather? Yeah.
Let's look at the satellite. Lots of systems. This time, we've been watching systems all winter long, Paulina, come to the coast and do the Leon split. Yep, then they split, go over the top of us or underneath us, and we get nothing. But guess what? That system that's coming our way is going to hit us. Tonight, we got showers moving in, 85% chance of showers. Overnight lows in the mid-30s, which is a threat of snow for us, but tomorrow even more, because a 95% chance of showers. Overnight lows tomorrow night in the upper 20s. So we're probably going to see some snow on the valley floor. That's going to continue through Thursday, a little break Friday, Saturday, and then more moisture coming our way. So as Leon would say, that storm door is opening, and I have it from good authority that everyone at Mount Ashland is still gearing up for a season. And they're planning on opening. They think they're going to have full operations for the month of March.
So they haven't opened at all?
No. Well, they opened early, like
they had
a little bit, right? A couple weeks, but it was only on a couple lifts on the bottom, and that was it. They haven't had the top of the hill open at all this year.
You didn't consider that ski.
You know what?
Couple hills on the bottom.
I was waiting for the top to open. We had a little pool going on in here. Perry was saying second weekend after full opening. We never had full opening. If we had full opening, I probably would have gone up and tested it, not knowing that all my hardware's broken.
Yeah, thank God you did.
So I'm glad I didn't. Yeah, that was good. All right, moving on. Former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd told Newsmax's America Right Now that the midterms may hinge less on economic data and more on whether voters actually feel improvement by late spring, arguing that what Americans feel by Memorial Day could decide control of Congress.
Well, I don't think people feel it yet, right? Look, these numbers, in some ways, right, the inflation numbers are just coming down. Let's see what the tax refund situation is, right? Meaning, do people have extra money, or does that money get eaten up, right, by electric bills and higher costs and healthcare, et cetera, and how do people feel about it? But one thing we do know historically, when it comes to trying to judge what economy do voters vote on in November? Do they vote on the economy that's taking place in that moment, or do they vote on what they feel like the economy is, which usually is about a 4 to 6 months lagging indicator, right? I mean, the first lesson I got in this was back in the 1992 campaign.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton won. The economy was the reason. It was a recovering economy.
That's
the
right.
public didn't feel it until after the election, harming George H.W. Bush. So timing is everything. What do people feel like, think this economy is like on Memorial Day? And that will tell me whether Republicans have a boxer's chance here to sort of push back on history. Because history indicates, it's not just, it's history, right? 6 year of a second term.
Right.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but Todd is right.
He is right, and it happened during the Reagan administration as well. He came in 80, and we know of the Reagan Revolution, changed economic policies, things kicked in, but for the midterms in 82, they hadn't kicked in strong enough, and the Republican Party didn't do well. But by 84, it had kicked in, and he won in a landslide victory. I believe 49 out of 50 states went for Reagan. So, yeah, sometimes it's just about timing, but I think it's interesting that Democrats are finding that word now, affordability. Because in the last cycle, when we had like 9% inflation, you couldn't hear it out of the left.
Well, they're definitely redefining it, because, I mean, remember they used that word with Affordable Health Care Act. Nothing affordable about it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some international news.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect. finding your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life? Now's the time to call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Hi, I'm Ryan Robertson, host of a brand new program on theDove, Ministries on the Move. Ministries on the Move spotlights the incredible work of how God is using everyday people and organizations, putting their faith into action, serving the hurting, strengthening families, and sharing the hope of the gospel in practical ways. Be inspired and discover these ministries on the move. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m., right here on theDove TV. Encouraging and informative. More at thedove.us.
Back to the morning show. It is a day off today for a lot of people.
It is?
For us. Well, it's President's Day.
I know. Yeah. We always hear about those days off, don't we?
Yeah, they exist somewhere in the universe.
Netherlands.
All right, well, apparently tomorrow there's some important U.S.-Iran talks in Geneva, so we'll see where they produce any results. But meanwhile, the United States has sent some more firepower in the region, and we do have an update from CBN News.
The United States is sending a second aircraft carrier to the Middle East, which just happens to be the largest aircraft carrier in the entire world, the USS Gerald R. Ford. Now, this comes as tensions between Iran and the United States reach a boiling point. Here's what President Trump had to say about the ongoing negotiations.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them in the back. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, it shouldn't take, I mean, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly, yeah.
All right, I'm joined by CBN's Billy Hollowell. Billy, what do you think about this maneuver by the U.S. government?
I think the U.S. government is essentially saying under the Trump administration that we are not going to stand by while this chaos continues. We've seen a lot happen in the Middle East in the last couple of years. We've seen Iran actually, send missiles and actually ignite war with Israel. We've seen a number of troubling patterns that tell us that this sort of sitting by and waiting approach is not working, and it has not been working, and things have only intensified. So I think what you see here is a real attempt to get to an actual agreement that hopefully can thwart any future antics like what we've been seeing. But you also see that desperation inside of Iran, right? We've seen the people rising up. And so it really is a powder keg inside Iran. And you have to wonder, how is the government going to react to that pressure? And so I think what the Trump administration is doing is saying, look, again, we are not going to sit here and wait. We are going to take moves, make moves, and put pressure on them. And so it's definitely a departure from what we've seen from other administrations, and it will be interesting to see where it all lands.
And it's multi-layered, right? Speaking to a lot of my Iranian contacts, people that are in touch with their Iranian family and friends in Iran, they actually don't want a deal to be made. They want this demonic, as they call it, brutal Islamic regime to fall because of, a myriad of reasons, none the least, the massacres that have happened recently with the protesters. So here you have, I guess, three options. One, a deal is made. Two, no deal is made. And then three, the deal is made, but actually the organic stirring of the people of Iran, the Persian people, is actually quelled because then the the government is allowed to stay in place. So there's a lot happening, and obviously it's easy to play the Twitter armchair quarterback where we feel like we have all the answers. And I think what's important for us, and this is just my personal opinion, is to realize that there's a lot at play here. And so that as Christians, we should be praying for wisdom, regardless of what you think of him, for our president, for our military, for those who are making decisions here, because this is going to have massive consequences around the world. So as these decisions are being made, let us pray that wisdom, biblical wisdom, whatever that might look like, would prevail here, and that chaos and confusion wouldn't take the day, and that there be a way for the people of Iran to have freedom. There's a lot at play here, and for anyone to claim that they feel like they have all the answers, I feel like that might be short-sighted. So I think what's incumbent upon us, sitting back at home, is simply to pray that those who are in power would make wise, godly decisions in this moment of chaos.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking here. Foreign Minister of Iran just arrived in Geneva for tomorrow's talks. So things are getting ready for that. So we'll probably, well, and tomorrow is pretty much today there. So hopefully by tomorrow morning show, we'll have some news on how those talks went.
And I heard a couple comments from Secretary of State Mark Rubio on this meeting, and he says, well, nobody's been able to successfully negotiate a deal with Iran, but it doesn't preclude us from trying. And I think, too, that they know that not only will they make a good effort to negotiate a settlement, but if not, we got the power.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's all eyes are on that part of the world right now.
So we should have something for you tomorrow. All right. Well, let's take a look at the weather with Jerry to see what's going on there.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With a front bringing winter conditions to our area, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing with rain as we move down the Willamette Valley and snow levels around 1,600 feet, with daytime high temperatures in the mid-40s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with lows in the mid-30s. Starting with rain and snow across central Oregon, then snow with highs in the mid-40s in Prineville, near 40 in Bend, and 38 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, a slight chance of rain in upper 50s with rain and snow overnight. Rain along the Oregon coast with maybe a mix of rain and snow in Coos Bay, with daytime highs near 49 in Coos Bay, low 50s in Port Orford and Brookings, and near 53 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with winter storm warnings tonight and daytime highs in the low to mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Rain and snow with a high near 43 in Klamath Falls. Into northern California with rain and snow in mid-40s in Wairika. Rain with wind advisories this afternoon from Redding through Chico and Sacramento with highs in the low to mid-50s. In the Bay Area, rain with coastal flood advisories and daytime highs in the low 50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 55 in San Francisco and 54 in San Jose, with a northwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Woohoo!
That's beautiful.
Looking at the Rogue Valley, a little bit of fog over the top, lights peeking out from below. It is a gorgeous sight, and it is home.
Yes. Well, I didn't realize that people are up at this time of the day. When I was driving to work, there's so many cars.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
Well, I know.
Sleep.
Heading to work. You'd be surprised. Even coming in from, the far reaches, coming up, down Highway 62 from the upper Rogue, and folks coming to work. So it's pretty good out there.
Going on.
All right. Well, we're watching the Olympics, and of course, one of the premier events is the downhill, and anything can happen in the downhill. We saw, unfortunately, that happened with Lindsey Vonn, but it is a very dramatic event. One shot down the mountain as fast as you can go. And on this day in 1984, American Bill Johnson made Olympic history on the slopes at Sarajevo. The 23-year-old Oregonian became the first American man ever to win Olympic gold in downhill skiing, a sport long dominated by Europeans.
Just weeks earlier, Johnson had stunned the skiing world by winning a World Cup race in Switzerland. Then he boldly predicted he'd win Olympic gold. Few believed him, but in Sarajevo, Johnson delivered, finishing with a time of 1:45.59, beating Switzerland's Peter Mueller by just 27/100ths of a second. Overnight, he became a national hero. But fame came fast. Johnson's brash confidence and hard-living lifestyle began to overshadow his talent. He never returned to Olympic competition, and his career gradually faded. Years later, while attempting a comeback, Johnson suffered a devastating crash that left him with permanent brain injuries. Still, his 1984 victory remains unforgettable, a moment when an unlikely American skier backed up his bold words and carved his name into Olympic history. Never won the Olympic downhill, and here comes Bill Johnson. And you know, in typical brash, sometimes a brash American style, he says, I'm going to win this thing. And he predicts it, and then he goes and does it. We erupted.
Were you already an Oregonian?
No, I was back east.
Okay.
And in fact, it was interesting.
It was just an American. You didn't, Oregon didn't make a difference then.
Absolutely.
Do you know where what his mountain of choice was, where he practiced?
Yeah, he was up north, up by Mount Hood.
Okay.
And he was a great glider. He was maybe not as efficient technically as some of the other skiers, but he could put a ski on, make it flat, and make that ski go as fast as it possibly could. And he did it for the Olympics, and then tried to do it again, and unfortunately, he paid the consequences for it. But it's also a kind of a lesson for us.
For us?
For everybody. He took his success and he didn't stay disciplined after that. He talked about maybe a hard lifestyle. He didn't keep his nose to the grindstone. I think that first success maybe went to his head, and that's a lesson for all of us.
Okay, I thought you may draw some lessons for you, Mr. Skier.
No. Although I got some advice yesterday at church.
Yeah. What was?
You got to give this stuff up.
Oh, that's a horrible advice.
I know. I smiled and said, thanks, have a nice day.
Yeah. I'll pray for you. Yeah. All right, well, speaking of church, do you guys have a lot of generations in your
you know what? In church? Yep, we got white hairs and we got young folks
Kids
as well.
Around,
yes.
Is that a problem, or is it just working out well?
No, I think that's really good. I think that's a healthy sign of a healthy church, that you have the Sunday schools are filled. If you go over to the Sunday school building over there, Jeremy Haskell's the head of the Sunday school, and the kids are all over the place.
Nice.
And it's really a great
Well, I
scene.
think it's a sign of a healthy church as well. Apparently, some churches struggle how to manage it, different generations. So we have Ryan Molinari from Oriane Molinari from Crossway talking about how churches can bridge generational and stylistic divides.
I think a lot of churches operate without awareness of the divides within themselves over worship. Or they're aware that maybe the traditional crowd only goes to the early service and the contemporary crowd only goes to the later service, but they've just accepted this as something that can't change and something that won't change. And the first step, I don't think the first step is saying we're going to combine our services and force everyone all at once suddenly to acclimate to worship they're not comfortable with. But I do think awareness and openness is the first step. Being willing to say to people, you need to try out this other service now and then. Don't become too firmly lodged in your lane. Don't become too used to, I will go to this service and sing this type of music. Try to encourage your people to try something else. Try to have all church services when you can. It really, I think, just comes down to not accepting that this is the way it always has to be, and instead encouraging your people to really open themselves up to trying other worship services. Whether that's at your church, they try to go to a different service, or they just start trying to listen to different music in their own time and trying to not just become totally curved in on what they're interested in.
Yeah, and then, as I just mentioned, like at our church, we have one service now. We used to do 3 services, and the first service was the probably the most intimate. It was in the fireside room, and we definitely saw people come by service, you know, what they felt most comfortable with. And then when we got the new worship center, it was big enough that we could get everybody in for one service. So now that's what's going on, and so we're all together for that one service. And I think some people, you know, if they had their choice, would prefer a smaller, more intimate service. But it is what it is, and everybody comes to church.
Right.
Yeah.
Church is not a buffet.
No,
you get to pick and choose.
That's a great point, Paulina. Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a quick break. Go check out our buffet. It's closed. We'll be right back.
It is closed.
Tells me a different story. The voice of truth says do not be afraid. And the voice of truth says this is for my glory. He's got the whole world in his hands, and he knows the plans for us. Above and beyond we could ask or imagine. His grace is more than enough. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Come on, Steve.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
"30 seconds or less. That's the length of a soundbite in a typical news story. If you're lucky, you can't really learn much in 30 seconds. It takes time to ask questions, learn, and explore the facts to really understand. Focus Today on the Dove TV and Radio does just that. We give you an hour covering several issues and newsmakers in depth. So don't settle for quick sound bites. Get to the heart of a story and understand better. Focus Today, weekdays on the Dove TV and Radio.
Morning and happy Monday. Well, there is a lot going on in the Middle East, and when we come to the table, we as in the United States, obviously we're bringing our ideas of what the government should be, naturally. But is that creating problems? Is it complicating things? Joshua Phillips of Epoch Times was with Perry on Focus today, and he talked about this understanding of government, Western versus Eastern, and how those perspectives may collide.
Table. You know, the hard reality for a lot of these countries, they know better than we do how to deal with radical Islam. And if you talk about Qatar and Saudi Arabia, you know, in America, we tend to not really regard these countries that different from one to the next. But these countries do not internally have real serious terrorism problems. They tend to crack down on the radicals with a pretty heavy iron fist. You know, we like to think that democracy is the best option for the Middle East, but frankly, the working model is not democracy. You know, Hamas is a democratically led government. It seems that dictatorship or a king, you know, a monarchy tends to be the weird working model for them. And they tend to not tolerate the radicals. I believe that Saudi Arabia backing off the Abraham Accords is not a permanent strategy, but I think they do face a real issue that public sentiment in the Muslim world, you know, does not have a favorable position right now in Israel. I think that they would believe that could change as soon as the war ends with, you know, Hamas when that whole situation gets cleared up. But right now, I don't think they view it as a stable decision.
Quick reminder that all our interviews are available online. You can go to focustoday.us or to the Dove website, and you can find them there.
Well, we know some bad weather's coming our way, and speaking of bad weather, here's a great story about a teacher that got a new car after hers was frozen solid by a water main break.
Tina Graham, a 24-year-old fifth-grade math teacher, woke up to find her Honda Civic completely encased in ice after a water line break and days of Arctic temperatures. She posted a video to TikTok, and it exploded, racking up millions of views. In the background of the viral clip, a Carvana car vending machine. The company saw the video and invited Graham for a visit. She expected maybe a small discount. Instead, a bright blue 2022 Honda Civic descended from the tower, topped with a giant bow, filled with school supplies, and completely free. For Graham, who's studying to help blind individuals navigate safely, it was a reminder that even icy setbacks can lead to something extraordinary. Sometimes life thaws out in the best possible way.
Hot dog. That's a really good one.
What is a Carvana vending machine? I know the company, but vending machine, I've never heard.
Car sales.
Okay.
That's all about it. Well, here's our verse for you today. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Take that with you on this Monday.
Ministries on the Move spotlights how God is using everyday people and organizations to bring light, love, and transformation to others through inspiring conversations and real-life stories. Join me Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on the Dove TV.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary, sunlit interiors meet old-world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare, where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
Weekday mornings on the Dove, it's one of the longest running shows in broadcast history, the 700 Club. Informative, with the day's stories from a biblical perspective.
Israel finds itself fighting.
Trusted investigative reporting.
Our chief political analyst, David.
Encouraging, with uplifting stories of faith.
And then she heard a prayer. I immediately felt the Holy Spirit.
Be encouraged and informed with the 700 Club. Weekdays at 11 on the Dove TV. Get more at thedove.us.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Now here's this couple who says, we don't need that kind of a covenant so that we can escape and get out of this. And it is an unholy relationship. 2 men together cannot be one flesh. 2 women together in a sexual relationship cannot be one flesh. It is the man and it is the woman brought together by God, as indicated here in this passage of Scripture, that become one flesh. And that means that their relationship is not just physical, but metaphysical. In fact, you know that the word one that is used there is the word when God speaks about being one, for the oneness of the Trinity.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
The Dove TV, encouraging, informative, and your home for Wretched TV weeknights at 9 p.m.
Good morning. You're tuned to the Dove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Yes, welcome. Happy Monday. Happy President's Day.
And happy and welcome Paulina Day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Paulina's Day.
All right.
Perry is on assignment. No,
yes,
he's,
kinda.
it is an assignment, but we all know where he is. He's in Tennessee.
Yep.
He is attending the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. That's a big one that happens once a year where all the Christian broadcasters come together and share their troubles and their joys.
Yeah.
Have different roundtables, events, learn about the new show. So he's there representing the Dove. And when he comes back next Monday, we'll do a little debriefing on air. We'll talk to him about how the week has gone. But that's where he is. I'll be here for this week.
And so in the meantime, we get Paulina.
You get me.
All right.
Yes. Half awake, but still here.
It's a good deal.
Yes.
No, it's very, you're all awake. And not only that, but it is, guess what? It's President's Day today.
It is, yes.
It takes place during the birth month of our country's two most prominent presidents, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. It once only honored President George Washington on his birthday, February 22nd, but the day now never ends on a single president's birthday, but it is President's Day, and for some folks that means a day off. And there, look at that behind us.
Oh, Mama.
Oh, we're looking at Mount Rushmore.
I was very impressed with you on Friday.
Why?
That you just named them so fast.
Oh, wow.
I had to think.
Did you?
So,
all right.
Yeah,
I've been there. Have you ever had a chance?
No.
It is wonderful. Look at all the rocks underneath it. That's all the chipping where they did all the sculpting, and it lay where it fell. It lay where it fell. Yeah.
Wow.
I think at one point they had a cleanup plan of that, but I think near the end of the project, as it happens in many projects, they run out of gas and they run out of money.
When was it? When were they?
It was back in the 30s. Yeah,
Okay.
back in the Borglund was the chief sculptor, and I think his son was involved with it as well. But Franklin Roosevelt was there, I think, in the 40s when they dedicated it. And so there we go: Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln. Right there. So they're the presidents for our President's Day.
Yeah.
Enjoy. It's also, I love this one. It is National Do a Grouch a Favor Day. A grouch is a habitually irritable or complaining person, a grumbler. And this, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. So if there is a grouch in your life, do them a favor. It might bug them. It might get under their skin. And hopefully, nobody has to do a favor for you because you're considered the grouch.
Yeah, if someone does a favor for you today, you're like,
All right, moving on.
But that's probably the only way you can win with the grouch is just by, keep smiling, and they'll probably find fault in that too. But I mean, what else we're gonna
have some chocolate?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now it was Valentine's Day. Did you eat any chocolate on your Valentine's Day?
Had ice cream.
You had ice cream.
Not
Well, I got Pam some of our favorite chocolate, and she got me some of our favorite chocolate.
Is it the same favorite, or you two have each separate?
Yes, we both like it a lot. She knows I think I like it a little bit more, and I've never done it in my life. I OD'd on chocolate on Saturday.
Really?
Oh, it was horrible.
Wow.
I ate so much chocolate.
Is that a secret which one it is?
It's Hershey's. I love Hershey's. Yeah,
okay,
I love Hershey's. I just love Hershey's chocolate. Yeah. Hershey's chocolate is what I would call American chocolate because it's sweeter than European chocolate.
Yeah.
Way more sugar in ours. But
so you like
Kisses.
Milk chocolate.
Milk chocolate, yeah. And I like dark chocolate too, but milk chocolate's where it's all about. And you can even get it with almonds in it, and that's a good deal because it's National Almond Day. Whether you're eating them by themselves, using almond milk, pasta, flour, butter, oil, or meal, almonds offer a delicious flavor along with many health benefits. Almonds are one of the most heart-healthy foods on the market, packed with vitamin E, magnesium, and fiber. And it says that if we eat like 1.5 ounces per day of almonds, it may help us reduce our risk of heart disease.
What's an ounce? What would be 1.5 ounces?
1.5 ounces. That's
almonds.
a good question. Is that like a couple, 3 handfuls?
In cups. Let's see.
Couple, 3 anyway.
Yeah.
Now this delicious nut is
half a cup.
Half a cup?
How can you stop at half a cup though?
Yeah, I can't. It's tough, and it depends on too. Now there are, raw, whole almonds, and then there are the roasted, and then roasted and salted, and roasted and barbecue. And I think the bottom line is the more stuff you put on them, probably the less healthy they are.
Yeah.
But they are really good, it is native to the Middle East. They thrive in warm, dry climates and mild winters, and that makes it perfect for California. Because 80% of the world's almonds are grown in California. So enjoy your almonds, and maybe put them on your cereal, or I don't know, oatmeal or whatever. But
I've been into pistachios lately.
Pistachios are fantastic. Shelled or
shelled?
Oh, okay.
That keeps me from eating the whole bag at once. Because otherwise, it's just they're I don't know. It's like gets you something to do, I guess, and also they're yummy.
Yeah, Perry always has good tips for when you're in your car and stuff. Getting the pistachios in the shell and stuff because it keeps you alert.
Although you need sometimes 2 hands. I don't know how you're gonna drive.
Can you crack some shells for me while we drive down the highway here at 80 miles? No. Keep it under 80.
Unless you're in other states where you can drive 80?
I don't know if Montana's got 80 anymore or not. I think they're 75.
Hold on. Are there states that allow 80 miles per hour?
Yeah.
Let's see.
AI
is thinking. Several states. Okay.
Oh, 80.
Idaho, Montana, Nevada, North Dakota.
There you go. All right.
Oklahoma, South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming.
Yes, absolutely.
Texas has 85 on Highway 130. Okay, Texas, good for you. All right, yeah.
All right. So keep it under 90.
Yes. Do you have relatives on the force?
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right. Well, let's see if the weather is driving friendly. Here's our meteorologist, Jerry Bilden.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With a front bringing winter conditions to our area today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing with rain as we move down the Willamette Valley and snow levels around 1,600 feet with daytime high temperatures in the mid-40s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with lows in the mid-30s. Starting with rain and snow across central Oregon, then snow with highs in the mid-40s in Prineville, near 40 in Bend and 38 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, a slight chance of rain in upper 50s with rain and snow overnight. Rain along the Oregon coast with maybe a mix of rain and snow in Coos Bay with daytime highs near 49 in Coos Bay, low 50s in Port Orford and Brookings, and near 53 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with winter storm warnings tonight and daytime highs in the low to mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Rain and snow with a high near 43 in Klamath Falls. Into northern California with rain and snow in mid-40s in Wairika. Rain with wind advisories this afternoon from Redding through Chico and Sacramento with highs in the low to mid-50s. In the Bay Area, rain with coastal flood advisories and daytime highs in the low 50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 55 in San Francisco and 54 in San Jose, with a northwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Ooh, there's the clouds over the valley, and we do have a coming front, a series of fronts coming our way, and some cold temperatures to boot. So we maybe see some snow on the valley floor this week. And we've been complaining all winter long.
On the Rogue Valley floor?
On the Rogue Valley floor. Yeah, we got 20s tomorrow night with moisture coming our way, so that's the magic combination. And we might be, like I mentioned, we've been kind of complaining about the lack of snow and rain this winter.
We've kind of been grouchy.
We've been a little grouchy. Do something nice for me today. We've been a little grouchy, but the weather is cooperating. Thank you, Lord, for the rain. It is on its way. Well, Now, some encouragement with Dr. Anthony George as he encourages us not to grow weary in doing good.
So guess when Noah quit? Noah quit when the job was done. And we're admonished in the New Testament book of Galatians, chapter 6 and verse 9, let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. I'm so glad God put that verse in our Bibles today. And Noah lived by this principle. Don't grow weary in doing good. And we are so carnal and so wicked in our flesh. Just because we're doing what God wants us to do and it's not easy, the words that will come out of our mouth complaining about the privilege and the joy that should be ours in serving God, we will roll our eyes and we will be even hateful in the kinds of attitudes that we develop. And you know what happens when people get jaded and angry and develop an ungrateful attitude when they're serving God? They have forgotten the fiery hell from which they've been saved. They have forgotten the grace of God. They have forgotten that what they get to do is affecting the eternal souls of men and women and boys and girls. God says, do not grow weary in doing good.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and we're about to start the Lenten season leading up to Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, different churches have different ways of commemorating that, but
yeah.
Not forget about fast, but do good. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing way to get ready for Easter and to spend your Lenten season. If you can't say no to some foods, at least be nice to people.
Yeah.
At least do good to people.
Yeah.
It's always a
do something nice
good
for
rule.
a grouch.
Yes, and be grateful.
Yes.
We have a lot to be
Absolutely.
grateful for. All right, well, let's see what the headlines are this morning. First one I wanted to mention over the weekend, which is an interesting timing, but on Saturday, the DOJ, following the hearings, sent a letter to Congress with the list of a lot of people that are supposedly or apparently associated with the Epstein case. And the list included, quote, all government officials and politically exposed persons. Now, you start looking at those names and you realize that they just put everything in there. Names that perhaps were mentioned in correspondence, on tweets, on Twitter, things like that. Because we see Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. Of course, you see those names. We've seen them, but people like Janis Joplin, she died when Epstein was 17. So obviously, it's a different context, and the context was not specified. So a lot of people are not very happy with the department for doing that. However, all those names are out there now, and someone will be sorting through them, I guess, to figure out if any of that makes sense and if there is going to be any accountability. But following the week of hearing in the House, Representative Thomas Massey was on ABC, and he was asked whether he still has confidence in AG Bondi.
I don't think Pam Bondi has confidence in Pam Bondi. She wasn't confident enough to engage in anything but name calling in a hearing. And so, no, I don't have confidence in her. She hasn't got any sort of accountability there at the DOJ. When I asked her specifically who redacted Leslie Wexner's name from the one document that mattered, she couldn't give me an answer. She wouldn't give me an answer. But ultimately, it's her who is responsible for the document production, according to our law. The Attorney General, it's not Todd Blanche, it's not the people below them. You can assign tasks to people, but you can't assign your responsibility.
And of course, you look at this list, and I mentioned Janis Joplin, who was gone by the time Epstein did what he did. And then there's people like Larry Nassar, who went to prison for sexual abuse.
Oh, yeah.
So you have all these names mixed together, and who's a predator, who's a just, you know, a mentioned name. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of, and who can at this point.
Yeah, will there ever be a day when all the information is unredacted?
Rhetorical question?
Yeah, I doubt
probably
it.
not.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I mean, look what's going on with the JFK files.
Yeah, oh
It's been decades, and we're still looking at redacted and classified documents.
Yeah. don't know.
Do you think they should be unredacted and made public? I mean,
well, I think part of the problem is exposing victims, especially victims who were minors. So I get that, but the rest of the stuff, you know, well, unredacted. I don't care who's in there. I'm sure that there are people that do care, but I just still think this whole thing is just kind of bizarre because these, you know, the Epstein files were around long before Donald Trump became president. They were, you know, obviously not a factor during the Biden administration. They obviously had control of it, and if they had anything on, say, a Donald Trump, they would have exposed it in a heartbeat. So I think obviously a lot of this has been a smokescreen for the left, and so we'll see how it plays out. I don't know where it's going to go.
So why do you think the current administration put in brakes on it?
I don't know. You know, we're all kind of wondering what's in it in the Justice Department. Why does it seem as though AG Bondi is slow in getting these out and not maybe even successful in what she's giving out, at least for other people's expectations. So I don't know. I'm confused.
At the absence of transparency, that's when conspiracies grow.
Exactly. Yeah.
And look, in this day and age, some of those internet sleuths have done an amazing job getting to the bottom of things that we should be told by people in charge that we're not getting that information. So, you know, you start wondering, is the government using this for purposes and they don't want to reveal it yet because they need this information private? Is there something else going on?
And speaking of something else going on, what do you think of the the Clintons will be answering their subpoenas and coming to testify in front of Congress? Is it just going to be a spectacle and drama where people are trying to be getting gotcha points, or are we going to learn anything new through this?
Probably the first.
Yeah.
Probably because, you know, Clintons, they're implicated, but what about the rest of them?
Yeah.
What about the rest of the names?
Yeah.
There are a lot of names named and zero arrests, zero accountability. And Democrats were in power, but we can go down that kind of reasoning forever with every case, because we do have Democrats and Republicans, but right now the Republicans are. So what are you going to do now that you have authority to do something?
Right. And I don't know if anybody is going to feel the effects of it, but we do know one person has truly felt the effects of it and continues to do so, and that is Prince Andrew. Oh my goodness. And Fergie.
Right.
Oh man, he got stripped of titles and kicked out of his house, and I mean the whole thing. It's amazing. Anyway.
All right. Let's see. Nancy Guthrie. She's been missing for now 2 weeks. And there have been some developments over the weekend. Number one, apparently they're trying to track her pacemaker signal. There are some signal sniffing machines that can look for that. So the helicopter is flying looking for that specific signal. And apparently, even if it's off, there is a way to possibly locate it. That's number one. Number two, the glove situation.
Yeah.
You said that there were several gloves that were found, and some of them by...
Yeah. Now, the big news overnight was they think they have found the glove that the perpetrator wore. It seems to match the video. And if that is indeed the case, and they think it is, that there are DNA evidence and factors involved with that glove.
And then if that DNA... If they can take the DNA and run it through the database.
Right. Now, even if it doesn't match in the database, at least they have it. So if any future suspects match that, obviously that's a hit. But what really got me by surprise was, and you mentioned, there were other gloves that they found as well. And it turns out that there were up to, and I don't know if this is a true number, but it's the number I heard this morning on a news report, they found 16 other gloves in the process that they theorized were discarded by searchers who were looking for evidence in the Guthrie case.
Now, were those...
Are you kidding me?
Pima County or FBI searchers or volunteers?
That's a great question. They did not say.
they were on the payroll.
Well, yeah, and first of all, if they have anybody who's not law enforcement out there searching, shame on them. Because nobody knows those procedures and how to keep evidence clean and crime scenes clean. So I don't know, but it seems as though these were official people. It's like, what's going on? Why are you discarding? First of all, that's a litter issue.
Right.
But second of all, it's a law enforcement issue in an investigation that could be compromised through such things. But at least the bottom line news right now is they think they have his glove. With that comes possibility of DNA evidence. That could be very big.
Yeah, yeah. But Savannah, the daughter, Nancy's daughter, did release yet another video pleading and asking for the return of her mom, and here it is.
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
Gosh, that's
You never know if someone who's listening,
if that strikes a chord, yes.
But of course, watching it just breaks your heart.
It does.
We all have moms, we all have loved ones, and to imagine what you're going through and to not have a closure.
Right.
You know, it's one thing to lose a loved one and you know they're lost, but to go through something like this, and you know, granted there are thousands and millions of people who deal with it where someone goes missing, but it's just a heartbreak, and this has been a very public
We're not hearing any more about any new notes or anything like that, correspondence, any communications.
I have heard nothing about the notes, but I know that the law enforcement was frequenting the neighborhood of Annie, the sibling.
Oh, okay.
A lot,
All right.
because the neighbors were saying the law enforcement kept coming there and talking to them, asking them possibly they've seen any kind of cell phones, because I guess now one of the theories is that the person who is seen on Nest camera, he may have a cell phone with him that can be tracked. But the latest I heard this morning, and that's not verified, it's just, you know, people talking on the news, but still didn't come from law enforcement, is that they're kind of walking away from the theory that the family's involved.
Oh, okay.
So I guess, but I don't know. You know, they may be working some theories and just not making it public at this point. You know, keeping their cards close. So, all right. Let me just mention one more headline before we go to break. Puerto Rico, they have good news. Their governor signed a bill that amends the law recognizing an unborn baby as a human being, which is huge. Now, it's not going to ban abortion there. It's still available in certain circumstances, but it does complement a law affirming that it would be first-degree murder if a suspect intentionally and knowingly kills a pregnant woman, resulting in the death of a conceived child at any stage of gestation. Also, it apparently changes some laws on, not laws, maybe rules on benefits, inheritance, things like that.
Okay.
But it is a step in the right direction, and maybe it will start changing the culture, and that's what the Director of Government Affairs at Defending Education said as well.
Puerto Ricans are pro-life. They've always been very pro-life, pro-family. So for many years, they were trying to do something, but they found all sort of political roadblocks. But then finally, I think things gelled. And we have a governor now who's Republican and pro-life. And we have some great legislators, and they worked on this creative, innovative idea to amend the civil code of Puerto Rico and recognize that the unborn, the baby that hasn't yet been born, is a person, a natural and legal person. And that means so much in terms of changing the culture. This is not just a clump of cells. This is a individual subject to rights, with rights. He'll be the unborn now can receive different types of benefits under Puerto Rican family law, inheritance. So it does also have some important legal consequences. Now, it doesn't change the law in Puerto Rico about abortion, which is regulated by the penal code. And abortion is allowed in Puerto Rico when the life and health of the mother is at risk and under authorization from a doctor. But I think what this law will do is restrict how abortion is understood under that definition of the criminal code of Puerto Rico. So I think it will be limited as the legal system understands that we're dealing here with an individual. So hopefully this will put us in track to eventually totally ban abortion.
Wow.
Taking real steps there.
Yeah, that's really big stuff.
All right, well, coming up after the break, we'll talk about some Oregon news, but what are we going to do during the break? Almonds?
Almonds. Yeah.
Kind of boring, but man, what we have. Being grateful. Thank you, Lord.
For almonds.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
All right, let's take a quick look at a couple of Oregon headlines. Our state senator Jeff Golden has announced a couple of days ago that he plans to retire at the end of his current term and will withdraw his filing for re-election. He wrote in a statement that weeks leading up to the session have been, quote, a particularly intense time both in my personal and professional life. Golden, of course, is a Democrat from Ashland. He was elected to Oregon State Senate in 2018 and will not be seeking re-election. On the Republican side, Greg Hicks, who is a former executive chief of the Chamber of Medford, has announced the campaign, his election bid, and he is full swing. So we'll see what happens with that race. And then here in our backyard, Brit Festival is always fun. Happens in Jacksonville. They do have some concerts throughout the year, but the main season is this summer, well, every summer. And so they just announced 6 more artists that are coming. Some are coming back, some are new ones. But among the new announcements are folk group Shaky Graves and country star Jake Owens. So if you're interested to see who else is coming, there is a list on their website, but also on March 13th, they'll do a 3rd round of announcements. So we'll see who else is
Fabulous
coming.
venue. I think most of us have been there, but if you have never experienced a concert, a Brit concert, by all means, go. Great
So
venue,
good. So
really good stuff. Great atmosphere. All right. Well, former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd spoke with Newsmax's America Right Now about Amy Klobuchar stepping in for Tim Walz in Minnesota and the Democrats' chance to gain seats in the House in 2026.
I think if Tim Walz were running for a 3rd term, I would be more bullish on Republican chances there. I'm slightly less bullish because I think Klobuchar has shown she's shown an ability to not get defined by the far left of her party. And in Minnesota, that's not easy because there's a lot of progressives in that state. And I think Tim Walz got dragged further to the left. You take a look at Amy Klobuchar, and look, I've watched her run her races for years. Her father was a very popular sports writer, and you know she does really well in the Iron Range, which is a very blue collar, sort of the in the 80s and 90s you'd have said traditional blue collar Democrats, who of course are all Trump voters. So she has a unique hold. So I think this was a rescue mission, frankly, by Democrats to say there was probably only one Democrat that could solve this problem for them. Let's see how the campaign goes. So it's difficult on the House level because we're still in the middle of this redistricting fights. Both Florida and Virginia could remap. We know Maryland could remap. But I will say this, I look on the Democratic side, meaning if they have a good night or a bad night, I look at a place like Iowa, which is a state that when they've had the majority in the past, they've had a couple of seats out of Iowa. 3 of them are in play. So I look at this. You tell me if those 3 of those 4 House seats are basically swing districts. The party that owns that wins 2 of them, it has a better shot at being in the majority. If Democrats think they're going to be a majority party, they've got to make inroads in places like Iowa. They can't do this on the back of the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe it's election year again.
I know.
I feel like we just got done.
It seems like the election cycles never stop now. Because
Right.
as soon as one's over, boom.
And as soon as we're done with midterms, presidential is going to start.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
People are going to start announcing. We're going to.
Yeah. It's just one continuous cycle now, isn't it?
Right. Okay, well, we're going to go watch Olympics, and we'll be back.
My strong defender, the Son of God. I trust in Jesus, blessed Redeemer.
Applegate River Golf and RV Resort, a pristine 9-hole course alongside the Applegate River. Their clubhouse offers a golf simulator experience. The RV Resort is adjacent to the golf course with convenient pull-through parking. Applegate River Golf and RV Resort. Information at applegaterv.com.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
The big idea of Christianity is to live coram Deo, to live all of one's life in the presence of God, under the authority of God, and to the honor and to the glory of God. Let me say that again. The big idea, coram Deo, is to live one's life in the presence of God, under the authority of God, to the honor and glory of God. That's what it's all about. Jesus said it succinctly this way: if you love me, keep my commandments. Which is to say, if you want to please me, you please me by doing what I have commanded you to do.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
The Dove is shining with a brand new show, Season to Shine.
I'm Melinda Robertson, host of Season to Shine, a new heartfelt, inspiring program for women designed to bring encouragement, wisdom, and hope into your everyday life. We'll help you discover God's purpose in every season, empowering you to shine with confidence, faith, and joy. It's your season to shine. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 4 p.m. on the Dove TV. More at thedove.us.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
All right, well, welcome back. A lot going on in Europe this week. Marco Rubio had a standing ovation of the week.
Yeah.
Gave his speech, and then tomorrow there's going to be Iran-United States talks in Geneva. Iranian foreign minister has arrived, so that's all being prepared for. Meanwhile, while the United States says that we are looking to resolve this situation peacefully and diplomatically, some force and some ships are being sent into the region. When we have CBN News with the latest.
The United States is sending a second aircraft carrier to the Middle East, which just happens to be the largest aircraft carrier in the entire world, the USS Gerald R. Ford. Now, this comes as tensions between Iran and the United States reach a boiling point. Here's what President Trump had to say about the ongoing negotiations.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them in the back. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, shouldn't take, I mean, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly, yeah.
All right, I'm joined by CBN's Billy Hollowell. Billy, what do you think about this maneuver by the U.S. government?
I think the U.S. government is essentially saying under the Trump administration that we are not going to stand by while this chaos continues. We've seen a lot happen in the Middle East in the last couple of years. We've seen Iran actually, send missiles and actually ignite war with Israel. We've seen a number of troubling patterns that tell us that this sort of sitting by and waiting approach is not working, and it has not been working, and things have only intensified. So I think what you see here is a real attempt to get to an actual agreement that hopefully can thwart any future antics like what we've been seeing. But you also see that desperation inside of Iran, right? We've seen the people rising up. And so it really is a powder keg inside Iran. And you have to wonder, how is the government going to react to that pressure? And so I think what the Trump administration is doing is saying, look, again, we are not going to sit here and wait. We are going to take moves, make moves, and put pressure on them. And so it's definitely a departure from what we've seen from other administrations, and it will be interesting to see where it all lands.
And it's multi-layered, right? Speaking to a lot of my Iranian contacts, people that are in touch with their Iranian family and friends in Iran, they actually don't want a deal to be made. They want this demonic, as they call it, brutal Islamic regime to fall because of, a myriad of reasons, none the least, the massacres that have happened recently with the protesters. So here you have, I guess, three options. One, a deal is made. Two, no deal is made. And then three, the deal is made, but actually the organic stirring of the people of Iran, the Persian people, is actually quelled because then the government is allowed to stay in place. So there's a lot happening. And obviously it's easy to play, the Twitter armchair quarterback where we feel like we have all the answers. And I think what's important for us, and this is just my personal opinion, is to realize that there's a lot at play here. And so that as Christians, we should be praying for wisdom, regardless of what you think of him, for our president, for our military, for those who are making decisions here, because this is going to have massive consequences around the world So as these decisions are being made, let us pray that wisdom, biblical wisdom, whatever that might look like, would prevail here, and that chaos and confusion wouldn't take the day, and that there be a way for the people of Iran to have freedom. There's a lot at play here, and for anyone to claim that they feel like they have all the answers, I feel like that might be short-sighted. So I think what's incumbent upon us, sitting back at home, is simply to pray that those who are in power would make wise, godly decisions in this moment of chaos.
All right.
Well, we'll be watching that meeting in
Oh,
Geneva.
gosh.
Yeah. All right, but now we're going to be watching the weather with Jerry.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With a front bringing winter conditions to our area today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, rain with highs in the mid-40s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Continuing with rain as we move down the Willamette Valley and snow levels around 1,600 feet with daytime high temperatures in the mid-40s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with lows in the mid-30s. Starting with rain and snow across central Oregon, then snow with highs in the mid-40s in Prineville, near 40 in Bend and 38 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, a slight chance of rain in upper 50s with rain and snow overnight. Rain along the Oregon coast with maybe a mix of rain and snow in Coos Bay with daytime highs near 49 in Coos Bay, low 50s in Port Orford and Brookings, and near 53 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, rain for the Rogue Valley with winter storm warnings tonight and daytime highs in the low to mid-40s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Rain and snow with a high near 43 in Klamath Falls. Into northern California with rain and snow in mid-40s in Wairika. Rain with wind advisories this afternoon from Redding through Chico and Sacramento with highs in the low to mid-50s. In the Bay Area, rain with coastal flood advisories and daytime highs in the low 50s for Santa Rosa and Napa, near 55 in San Francisco and 54 in San Jose, with a northwest wind gusting up to 18 miles per hour. It's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Beautiful.
Oh, there's some clouds down there.
So we're looking at a picture of the valley.
Yeah, this is the valley.
Is it Roxanne?
Yeah, I think it's from Roxanne. It usually is, and it appears to be. But the big news is there is some weather coming our way. We've been waiting all winter long for it, and it's finally bearing down on us a series of fronts that could even bring snow to the valley floor. So we'll keep tracking it. We'll keep you up to date, but look out. It should be here through the week. All right. Well, and speaking of snow,
yeah.
You know, the Winter Olympics are on.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to the downhill event, risk reward comes into play. You know, how much are you willing to risk, and what is the reward? Well, the reward can be great, and it was on this day in 1984 that American Bill Johnson made Olympic history on the slopes of Sarajevo. The 23-year-old Oregonian became the first American man ever to win Olympic gold in downhill skiing, a sport long dominated by Europeans. Just weeks earlier, Johnson had stunned the skiing world by winning a World Cup race in Switzerland. Then he boldly predicted he'd win Olympic gold. Few believed him, but in Sarajevo, Johnson delivered, finishing with a time of 1:45.59, beating Switzerland's Peter Mueller by just 27/100ths of a second. Overnight, he became a national hero. But fame came fast. Johnson's brash confidence and hard-living lifestyle began to overshadow his talent. He never returned to Olympic competition, and his career gradually faded. Years later, while attempting a comeback, Johnson suffered a devastating crash that left him with permanent brain injuries. Still, his 1984 victory remains unforgettable, a moment when an unlikely American skier backed up his bold words and carved his name into Olympic history. I remember it well, and I do remember that he had predicted it, and we were all looking at each other thinking, you gotta be kidding. No American has ever won this event. Who are you? This guy from Oregon? It was like, yeah, Oregonian Bill. Yeah.
So what was his time? Do you remember?
I don't remember the time.
But it's probably been by now.
Well, seeing every course is different in the downhill. Yeah, so there are no real set times on a downhill course.
Because
they're different places, and sometimes every downhill can even be different because they set up the gates differently, and so yeah.
So you can't really compare.
No, it's not like a marathon or the 100-yard dash, right? And so, but boy, it was exciting, and he unfortunately. He didn't, you know, sometimes when you have success, how you handle it is really important. And unfortunately, he struggled with his.
And you're watching Olympics now.
Oh, yeah.
Have there been any, like, what would you say are some of the highlights for you so far?
So far, I think the U.S. women's hockey team is a real big highlight in the fact that they've not only won every game, but they haven't given up a goal yet. They're going to play Sweden today. Of course, you know, we look at Breezy Johnson, the women's downhill specialist. She won the gold medal, came out of nowhere. Then we have the women's bumps runner. We had Liz Lemley, who came out of nowhere and won the bumps competition, and we went gold, silver in that. And of course, you know, if you like watching curling, it seems like it's on all the time. Curling is going on nonstop from the beginning of the Olympics all the way to the end. You can tune in to the curling venue, and you can watch a game going on almost any time. So, but it's all been good.
Have there been any major
upsets, injuries,
like
clashes,
Lindsay, things like that,
crashes.
Yeah, like I was watching.
Lindsay is going home. Lindsay Vonn has been in the hospital in Italy.
And what happened there?
She crashed on the very top part of the downhill. What would the event that we were just talking about? And she hooked a gate and rotated and shattered her tibia in her left leg. She's already had multiple surgeries in Italy, and now they're sending her home for more. And she has since officially retired. It was really sad too, though, Paulina, because at 41 years old, she'd come out of retirement in the World Cup this year. She had been retired for 6 years, and she had had her knee rebuilt, and she had actually won a World Cup downhill event coming into the Olympics, making her the oldest person that's ever won an Olympic or a World Cup ski event ever. And so she's got the record, and she went in. And then right before the Olympics, she crashed in a downhill event that they shouldn't have started because the visibility was so bad. They eventually called the race off. After she crashed, she tore her ACL. So she came into the Olympics with a torn ACL. A lot of people were thinking maybe that was the issue. She said it wasn't. She was on a wrong line. She was about 5 inches up too high on the gate, hooked the gate, it rotated around her when she hit it.
How was she able to do it with a torn ACL?
I don't know. I skied a full season on a severed ACL. It wasn't torn, it was gone. And it was the most difficult year of skiing I've ever had.
Did you know you had it?
Yeah.
And you still did it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, I had a full season. Unfortunately,
were you trying to
impress Pam? No, I was skiing again alone. Did it really near the same place where I broke my leg last year. Just a few feet away, about 23 years apart.
When I torn my ACL,
oh yeah,
I couldn't even get in the car. My knee would, would come out.
Oh, it's a challenge because the ACL is what stabilizes your knee from moving, and without it, it's got no anchor, and it's very difficult. So, but anyway,
I'm gonna pass out just listening to your stories. All right.
Anyway, yeah.
Change gears here for a sec.
Well, it's Almond Day, though, so you enjoy it.
It's fun to talk about Olympics, though.
I love it.
A lot more fun than the headlines.
Yeah.
All right, well, if your church has a lot of generations, a lot of styles, presence, here's advice from Ryan Molinari from Crossway on how to combine these things together and make it a more pleasant experience for your parishioners.
I think a lot of churches operate without awareness of the divides within themselves over worship. Or they're aware that maybe the traditional crowd only goes to the early service and the contemporary crowd only goes to the later service, but they've just accepted this as something that can't change and something that won't change. And the first step, I don't think the first step is saying we're going to combine our services and force everyone all at once suddenly to acclimate to worship they're not comfortable with. But I do think awareness and openness is the first step. Being willing to say to people, you need to try out this other service now and then. Don't become too firmly lodged in your lane. Don't become too used to, I will go to this service and sing this type of music. Try to encourage your people to try something else. Try to have all church services when you can. It really, I think, just comes down to not accepting that this is the way it always has to be, and instead encouraging your people to really open themselves up to trying other worship services. Whether that's at your church, they try to go to a different service, or they just start trying to listen to different music in their own time and trying to not just become totally curved in on what they're interested in.
Oh boy, what a hot button issue.
I was going to say, that can be a controversial discussion there. Do we change things because some people are not quite comfortable and happy, or do we, like she said, let them, you can listen to whatever you want at home.
Right.
Church is church.
Yes, and worship music is not something that we're supposed to be, that we go to church and listen to. We're supposed to be part of it. We're supposed to be involved in the worship.
And maybe if it's a little not comfortable, maybe instead of changing church, point the finger at yourself.
Right, and I get it. People like different styles of music and expression, and something may not rub you the right way. I think there's a lot of effort by worship leaders to try and bring balanced worship to churches, and even including some of the old hymns and some of those traditional songs, just to draw people in. But the bottom line is you have a responsibility to participate. So at least if you're not comfortable with your singing voice, try blend in, because we all sing better when we sing together.
That's for sure, yes. Thinking about our happy birthday songs here at the Dove.
Oh,
I don't know, though, if the singing together works here.
Oh, gosh.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, a beautiful story that you have there about a teacher whose car froze.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, we'll tell you that after the break.
Ministries on the Move spotlights how God is using everyday people and organizations to bring light, love, and transformation to others through inspiring conversations and real-life stories. Join me Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on the Dove TV.
When plumbing emergencies hit, and they do, you want help from a plumber you can trust, and you need it now. Onnit Plumbing to the rescue. Onnit Plumbing gets the job done right with integrity and quality craftsmanship. Onnit Plumbing offers military discounts, senior discounts, and discounts for KDOV listeners too. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Onnit Plumbing, CCB 229436. No job too big or small. Onnit Plumbing does them all. See us at onnitplumbing.net. onnitplumbing.net.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
They're fun-loving twins. They love God, hunting, and pranking each other. Join the Hamptons for outdoor adventure every weekend on Twin Factor. Brought to you by Black Flag Armory in Medford and Grants Pass. Truly excellent service.
Welcome back to the morning show. You have a cool story today.
Well, yes. We've had some bad weather across other parts of the country. Not much in our backyard, but hang on, it is coming. But with that in mind, a teacher got a new car when hers was frozen by a water main break. This went viral. Take a look at this. Tina Graham, a 24-year-old fifth-grade math teacher, woke up to find her Honda Civic completely encased in ice after a water line break and days of Arctic temperatures.
She posted a video to TikTok and it exploded, racking up millions of views. In the background of the viral clip, a Carvana car vending machine. The company saw the video and invited Graham for a visit. She expected maybe a small discount. Instead, a bright blue 2022 Honda Civic descended from the tower, topped with a giant bow, filled with school supplies, and completely free. For Graham, who's studying to help blind individuals navigate safely, it was a reminder that even icy setbacks can lead to something extraordinary. Sometimes life thaws out in the best possible way.
Well, it sure did for this.
Well, let me ask you
lady.
something. I don't think I know anybody, and I'm originally from North Dakota, and North Dakota gets pretty cold. But I don't think I know anybody that has gone through colder winters than you have. Have you ever seen anything like that? What is it like for cars in Siberia?
Well, if you want to drive your car in Siberia in the wintertime, you have to have a garage, and it has to be heated. And most of the time, you have to get up in the middle of the night and start your car.
No kidding.
So that it will start. I mean, when it's minus 55, you know, your car cannot just by itself function like that.
Right.
But yeah, there are vehicles who just sit there through the winter all frozen, and you know, you don't touch it.
Yeah.
And then it thaws out, and you hope it works.
Oh my goodness.
But driving takes effort and expenses.
Now, I've done business in Alaska before, and when you go to Alaska and you rent a car, you have to sign an agreement that you will plug it into a block heater. The block, they all have block heaters in them, but that you will plug it in so the block heater is on. Do they do that in Siberia, or is it all just running the cars? And
well, possibly, but or you have a garage where you have heating, you know, some elements that keep your car warm.
Okay.
But you can't just, I mean, you can put it in the garage so it's not covered in snow, but it's going to get colder.
I think one of my favorite cold weather videos is from Siberia, where they take the bucket of water thing and they
it's beautiful, but it's also dangerous.
Is it?
Well, ideally, the water will freeze.
Yes.
People have done it with boiling water. Because apparently it creates a better effect.
Oh, no.
But then, you know, you miscalculate and then you throw boiling water on yourself.
Ooh.
And that's happened too. Just
okay.
be careful there.
Okay, I'll be careful about that video.
Yeah, for the sake of beautiful social media viral videos, don't do stupid stuff.
All right, well, let's do something smart. Here is a great verse for your day. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart.
That's beautiful.
Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way. Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there's no other, 'cause Jesus is the way.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
If you are tired, that means I get fed up. I am tired of living the way I'm living. If you're tired from carrying heavy loads, if you're not tired of trying to solve all the problems by yourself, Jesus can't help you. So let me ask you, are you tired? Are you tired of running on empty? Are you fed up with the emptiness that you've been feeling in your life? And are you willing to do something about it? As I said, we don't change until we feel the heat. You have to come some point in your life where you go, I have had enough. I refuse to live this way any longer.
a ministry moment on the Dove.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
Applegate River Golf and RV Resort, a pristine 9-hole course alongside the Applegate River. Their clubhouse offers a golf simulator experience. The RV Resort is adjacent to the golf course with convenient pull-through parking. Applegate River Golf and RV Resort. Information at applegaterv.com.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Boise and the Treasure Valley.
Okay, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. I've been looking forward to our guest today and to have back with us Dr. Lynn Munsell. He is the president of the Arizona Christian University. He's also a lawyer and a journalist and the author of Transforming Culture with Truth. You may want to check that out. There's a picture of the cover of that book there on the screen. He also, in 2006, he won the Republican nomination for governor of Arizona. And also in 2016, he served as a delegate to the GOP National Convention as a member of the Platform Committee. So he and I have that in common, been there. You can go to arizonachristian.edu is the website, and there's the picture of that landing page, a great organization. arizonachristian.edu. There it is for you right there. Dr. Munsell, good to see you again. How are you, friend?
I'm doing great, Perry. Good to see you.
Thank you. Happy New Year. A lot going on.
Yes.
Boy, there's a lot to talk to you about in a short amount of time. From your perspective, how are we doing as believers in the area of discipleship?
Well, unfortunately, not great. It's been interesting working with George Barna. You learn a lot about sort of the state of the church and what's happening as it relates to discipling people in the church, even regular church attenders, members of churches. And as we know from George Barna's research over the last really 4 decades, we've seen a dramatic decline in biblical worldview, the percentage of Americans who have a biblical worldview, which really is a disciple who thinks and lives like Jesus. That's what we're talking about when we talk about having a biblical worldview. So from about 30 years ago, about 12% of Americans, so 1 in every 8 Americans had a biblical worldview. That number in last year's American Worldview Inventory, which we conduct through the Cultural Research Center here at Arizona Christian University, that number had dropped by 2/3 to just 4% of Americans, 1 in every 25 who is thinking and living biblically. And so however you want to, when you gauge it like that, it's pretty clear that we've not been effective at making disciples, which is kind of what we're called to do as followers of Christ.
Well, it's one of our leading mandates, go out and make disciples. And now, as you mentioned, the proof is in the pudding if our biblical worldview is down to 4%. So with that in mind, and I want to be careful here because I don't want to sound negative against the church, but I'm looking back at kind of history. How much of the lack of making disciples went away when churches dismissed Sunday school?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I don't think we know exactly what are all of the reasons why we've been ineffective in making disciples. I have my own thoughts on what's happened over the last few decades as it relates to the church. And I think you're right. I think that's part of it. Part of it, honestly, has got to be the sheer amount of bad messages coming at most Americans today through their phone, through the media, through music, television, film, social media in particular. I think it's very difficult to offset that with 30 minutes of teaching on a Sunday morning where you may or may not be paying attention because you might be on your phone. The reality is, if you've got 30 minutes of Bible teaching assuming it's solid and assuming it's biblical, it's hard for that to compete with the dozens of hours that people are dealing with on a weekly basis of bad messaging coming at them from the culture. The culture is very, very powerful, especially for young people. And so I'm not sure the way that we are doing church is going to be effective at combating that in a way that will effectively make disciples.
Do you think churches see the need to intentionally develop discipleship back into their programs?
I am not an expert on that, but my sense from talking to George is that has not been a priority. You know, George Barna is a brilliant guy, and he's spoken truth, to the church with just data. Just, here's what the data is telling us. One of his axioms is that you get what you measure. And so often in the church, we're measuring the number of people attending, the number of people who become members. Maybe we're measuring the number of baptisms, but often we're sort of measuring based on our capacity, how many buildings we have, how many programs we have, as opposed to measuring whether we're making disciples, which is something that George Barna has done for us at Arizona Christian University. And that's create a tool by which we measure our students before they ever start classes at ACU, and then at the end of every year, and then when they graduate. And so now we have data that we can document, kind of where we're at with our students. Most churches are not doing that. One of the things that we're trying to do is create these tools for the church so that churches, and many churches are taking us up on it, can actually measure the thing that matters, which is, are you changing, are you growing your congregation spiritually? Are you changing the way that they think and the way that they live? And Barna's research always measures both, because those are both elements of having a biblical worldview. It's not just what we think, it's how we're living our lives. And both of those things get measured by his studies.
It would seem to me that would require churches to maybe change their weekly schedule to include literally discipleship training, let alone discipleship itself.
Yeah, I would think that would be the case. And kind of what George and I have been talking about is that if the church is going to be serious about making disciples, they're going to have to require more of their members. They're going to have to require more time commitment, because it's very difficult. The advantage that we have at Arizona Christian University is that we get young men and women, hopefully for 4 years, and we're able to surround them in an immersive environment where everybody that works at the school knows that part of their job is encouraging young men and women in their faith. So whether they're in the classroom, whether they're on the athletic field, whether they're in musical theater, whether they're in the band, every aspect of what we do at the university is oriented around building their faith and building them up to think and live biblically. But it's very intentional and it's very immersive. And it's many more points of contact for longer hours than you have with a typical relationship with a church. So I think it is a challenge for the church to try to figure out what can we do from a scheduling standpoint, and how can we more directly engage people with thinking and living biblically in a way that will be competitive with the incredible strong messaging that's coming from the culture that's often anti-Christ.
On the other hand, Dr. Mansell, it seems to me, I know I've had Dr. Barna on quite a bit. He's a hoot to talk to. Anyway, the point being is that there seems to be a genuine interest in faith these days, that the culture has lied to a lot of young people. There's more and more research coming out that young men are investigating faith. Young women, maybe not as much as young men. Maybe you can speak into that. But the point being is, are we ready for this possible influx of interest? And what are we giving them if they do come in?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm running a university, so I know what we're trying to do. And I think the data that we have can inform the church. I don't know that the church is ready for this influx. You know, I think George would say we saw an interest in faith after 9/11. We saw an interest in faith, you know, through the COVID era. A lot of people have talked about in September the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the response to that, especially among young people. I do think, I agree with you. I think young people today are looking at what has happened with the millennial generation, those that are just ahead of them from an age standpoint, the mental health issues that they struggle with, the anxieties. And I think young people are looking for something that is real, something that is authentic. And obviously, biblical Christianity, you noted the title of my book, Transforming Culture with Truth. Biblical Christianity is the truth. It's the real story of God creating the earth, loving us so much that he sent his son to live and to die in our place, to break down the separation that happened between us and a holy God. And so that's the true story. And, you know, so we talked about at ACU, education without the truth of the Bible is semi-useless. It's trying to understand science or math or the arts without a context that is true. And so what we do at ACU is we bring biblical truth into every class, into every conversation, into every discipline, because that is the foundation of everything. And I think young people are looking for what is true, what is authentic, what is real. And we know biblical Christianity provides that.
Has that caused you, as the leader there at ACU, has that caused you to take a second look at your own curriculum to make sure that it is totally biblical founded? In other words, you've had to even take a second look. Are we really doing what we say we're doing?
Well, absolutely. And that was why what George Barna would tell you is that he's worked at 5 Christian colleges and 2 seminaries. And the reason he's still at ACU after 6 years is that we actually wanted to measure how we were doing. We wanted to know how we were doing. We set up a curriculum with the idea of building biblical worldview. We instruct our faculty in how to integrate biblical worldview into whatever discipline they're teaching. And yet, you don't know if it's being effective until you actually measure how you're doing. And there's some risk in that. And in fact, it's George's sense that the reason he's never been asked to do that before is that some colleges really didn't want to know if their students were moving towards Christ through their experience at a college. We wanted to know. Honestly, I've got other things I can do in life. I don't want to waste my time if we're not educating Christians and building them in their faith during the college years. Then in essence, as a Christian college, it would be false advertising for us to identify ourselves as a Christian college. So we started measuring it. We set out to do this. We started measuring it now 6 years ago, and now we have actual data. We're really the only Christian college that can say we have measurable data from George Barna that demonstrates the growth of our students over their time as students at ACU. And it truly is remarkable. It's very much cutting against what's happening to young people in our culture, especially in the college years. That's a time when so often, even young men and women that attend Christian colleges, but certainly in secular schools, that's a time of pulling away from the faith that they were raised in. And at ACU, we have data now that shows very clearly that young men and women grow stronger in their faith by a substantial margin while they're students at Arizona Christian University. Every year that they attend ACU, they move, they grow in biblical worldview. And so my encouragement to the body of Christ generally, to churches, and to other Christian schools, K through 12, we have measuring tools now for Christian high schools and for 4th, 8th, and 12th graders, and to other Christian colleges, is do this, measure what's happening. And if there need to be changes, you make changes. So a couple of years ago, we looked at some of the data and said, oh, there are elements of a biblical worldview where our students are stronger in some places than in other places. There was confusion, for example, about the Trinity. And so we made changes in our curriculum, both our theological curriculum and in other places, to emphasize the doctrine of the Trinity and to help explain it to our students. And so we will make adjustments in our curriculum each year based on what we discover when we look at the data of what our students are learning and what they're coming out with.
That's fascinating. Were there any other surprises when you turn the spotlight on yourself?
Honestly, given where our students are coming from, I don't know that I would say surprises. It sort of confirmed what we suspected, but maybe was more clear. Because one of the data points, Perry, that we have been highlighting is that, so Arizona Christian University is what's called a covenantal school. And unlike 2/3 or 3/4 of Christian colleges, maybe even higher than that now, part of the test for being admitted to our school is that you claim to be a follower of Christ. And we probe a little bit. It's not just you have to check a box that, yeah, I'm a Christian. Because we're about creating leaders for the body of Christ. I don't really want to spend my time educating unbelievers. And we do evangelism at ACU. Every year we have hundreds of people come to faith in Christ through our various outreaches. But in terms of our student population, we want to create a setting where iron sharpens iron, where we're bringing in followers of Jesus and growing them substantially in their faith so that when they leave, they can be leaders in the church and in the culture. And so it's a unique mission. And so they have that commitment coming in. And based on George's research, we know that the vast majority of them, it's well over 90%, have a genuine theologically defined born-again Christian relationship. In other words, they're saved. They're saved believers when they come to ACU. However, on the biblical worldview scale, what we learned is that when they come in at 17, 18 years old, even as followers of Jesus, they have been much more catechized by the culture than by the church and by the Bible. And so their biblical worldview is essentially not much better than their peers at 17, 18 years old. And so one of the slides that when George shared the data recently with our Board of Visitors that was most compelling is that he said, they come in, they're saved, but they're thinking and living largely like the world. And so he had a slide that said 1-to-1, 28-to-1. When they graduate, Perry, they're 28-to-1 more likely to have a biblical worldview than their peers the same age. So they go from thinking and living a lot like their peers as followers of Christ to 28 times more likely to think and live biblically. So extraordinary results at a time when, again, most young men and women in our culture today, sadly, are leaving their faith in that time frame as they're affected by the culture, and they're affected often by what's happening in their college.
Absolutely fascinating. Let me take a quick break. Let me share to our viewers and listeners, check out Dr. Mansill's book. It's called Transforming Culture with Truth. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. Where can they get that?
They can get it on Amazon.
Okay. And then check out ArizonaChristian.edu. Arizona Christian University, ArizonaChristian.edu, and there's a picture of the landing page. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why McKelly's is automotive service with a heart for God and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond. But that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Okay, welcome back, and what an honor to have with us today Dr. Lynn Mansell. He is He is the president of the Arizona Christian University. He's also an attorney, a journalist, and the author of a must-read book called Transforming Culture with Truth. And again, there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen, available online there at Amazon. And of course, check out the university website, arizonachristian.edu, and there's a picture of that landing page. Okay, boy, you're fascinating. But let me ask you the big question. A biblical worldview is in complete contrast to our culture today.
Yes.
Complete, in every level. It's just, we have seen the complete opposite being propagated as truth, and we have to accept it and buy it because that's the way it is. Students who are taught a biblical worldview, do they see the contrast that sets forth the challenge for their life?
Yeah, absolutely they do. They're well aware. In fact, we talk about that at ACU in the classroom and in chapel and outside the classroom, that a lot of what they're being told in the culture is a lie. And so we teach biblical sexuality. We teach the value of every human life. We talk about things that are in the core commitments of our university, such as economic freedom, that are biblical principles. And this is the thing that's always amazing. People think you're talking about politics when you talk about some of these issues of life and sexuality and marriage, these are actually biblical issues that there are application to the culture that we live in. That's where our mindset comes from. And Perry, if you know anything about my background, you shared a little bit of my background, but I'm a lawyer that was in the sort of the Christian conservative, fighting for the sanctity of life in our culture, for marriage between a man and a woman, for biblical principles that lead to a conservative perspective on the role of government. And so that's where I come from. And a lot of those values and principles have been inculcated into the mission of Arizona Christian University. And so I wanted to share with you some of the outcomes. As we talked about, we've had George Barna now for 6 years doing a longitudinal study of our students, of every student. So it's not a survey. It's not a guesstimate of, we measured a few of them and then extrapolated it out. This is every student at ACU who gets measured anonymously every year. So we just see the aggregate totals. But one of the things I wanted to mention, because this really affects how young people view what's happening in our culture right now. And you mentioned, do they understand that, there are lies out there? And I think this should give people hope about the next generation and about what's possible. Because often, we sort of concede that, well, young people are going to be pulled during this time frame, away from God and from a, sort of, to the secular left viewpoint of the world. And it doesn't have to go that way. I think what we can now demonstrate with what we've done at Arizona Christian University is that young men and women can be dramatically grown in their biblical faith during that time frame. So some of the things I wanted to note in this 6-year longitudinal study is that our students, from the time they enter, again, they enter as born-again Christians, but by the time they graduate, the percentage, the increase in biblical worldview is 833%, more than eightfold with a biblical worldview. But some of the findings that I think, that some of the consequences of growing in your biblical worldview is that even though they come in as believing Christians, from the time they come in until they graduate, the number of our graduates, the number of students who increase in their belief that the only legitimate marriage is one man to one woman grows by 31%. The number that agree that pornography is corrupt and objectifies people and undermines genuine love increases by 54%. Again, they're Christians when they arrive, but their commitment to marriage, their commitment to biblical sexuality, the number who believe that human life is sacred grows by 59% over their time at ACU. So they're becoming not only stronger in their faith, but they're becoming more conservative in their view of what's happening in the culture. The number of our students who believe that caring for the poor is the responsibility of individuals, churches, and nonprofits, and not the government, grows by 32%. The number of students who believe that voting for socialist candidates is inconsistent with their Christian beliefs doubles during their time at Arizona Christian University. So we're seeing extraordinary outcomes. By the time they graduate, the percentage of our graduates who are theologically identified born-again Christians is 76% higher than among Christian adults in America. It's 26% higher than among attenders of evangelical churches. And Perry, this may shock you, but if you remember, I think you talked a little bit about George Barna's study of Christian pastors and their worldview.
Right.
Our graduates at 22 years old at Arizona Christian University are 43% more likely to have a biblical worldview than the average Christian pastor in America. So we're sending out graduates who are going to seed the church with theologically sound, committed Christians with a conservative biblical worldview. And they're going to make a big difference in our culture, especially as we grow. We're now the 5th fastest growing university in America over the last decade. We started very small, but now we're up to 1,600 students this last fall. We're headed towards 2,000 and beyond. And the more students that we send out, and especially if we can get other colleges and other Christian schools to embrace a culture of measuring their outcomes, measuring their biblical worldview outcomes, and then adjusting curriculum and practices to serve the body of Christ by turning out people with a biblical worldview, we can really make a difference.
Well, I can't say how refreshing it is to hear this, because at the same time we know a lot of denominations are weighing some of the cultural issues as to whether or not they're going to make exceptions to even their own doctrinal statements. We also know that other seminaries now are being diluted, if I can put it that way. So this is very, very refreshing, and I just want to commend you and your team to have the vulnerability to look at yourself and ask yourself, is your mission being accomplished? Because a lot of people just don't want to do that. They don't want the answer to that question.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And we're gratified by these results, but we want to do better. That's the goal. And what we've learned is that young men and women, when given the truth and surrounded in an immersive culture of discipleship, make tremendous leaps in their faith, in their commitment to Scripture, and in changing actually the way that they live. I mean, we have extraordinary stories anecdotally that back up, what we're seeing in the data. That the data is proving out what we've been seeing anecdotally, where young men and women as followers of Christ come to our school and they start changing how they live and how they think because they're exposed to the truth of the Scripture, that God wants us to flourish when we live life according to His principles and His plans.
Beautifully said. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out the ACU's website, arizonachristian.edu. There's a picture of that landing page. I think it's well taking a serious look at. And certainly check out Dr. Mansell's book called Transforming Culture with Truth. That's available there at Amazon. Everything we talked about is pretty much detailed in that book. And I think you'll find it not something to read, I think you'll find it, you'll end up writing in the margins, transforming culture with truth. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you. Stay in the fight. We need you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Perry. God bless.
God bless.
The Dove is shining with a brand new show, Season to Shine.
I'm Melinda Robertson, host of Season to Shine, a new heartfelt, inspiring program for women designed to bring encouragement, wisdom, and hope into your everyday life. We'll help you discover God's purpose in every season, empowering you to shine with confidence, faith, and joy. It's your season to shine. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 4 p.m. on the Dove TV. More at thedove.us.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary, sunlit interiors meet old-world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare, where your loved one can spend the day with us, and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
Put your gold in an envelope, mail it. Hopefully you get a check. Nah. Father and son jewelry, bring your gold in, we weigh it, we check it, we make you the offer.
Or turn your something old into something new. Whether it's an idea, a picture, or a piece you want to duplicate, we can melt it down and make it for you.
If you find your perfect piece in store, trade your something old for something new, and you always get a little extra.
Visit Father and Son Jewelry, 5 generations of family in Medford.
Well, welcome back, and always delighted and quite honestly honored when we have time to sit down with Troy Miller. He's the CEO of the National Religious Broadcasters. Under this man's leadership, this organization has grown to an amazing organization and been a proud member of this for decades. And he's just doing a terrific job. He never sleeps. But that's okay. That's his lifestyle now. He's learned how to do that. And you go to nrb.org. That is the website right there. We'll talk about the big convention coming up. But the nrb.org is the website. No matter what kind of a Christian organization you are, if you want to deal with media in your ministry, this is the place to go and to join. nrb.org. Troy, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
It's good to be with you, Perry, as always. Thawing out here in Nashville.
Oh, gosh, yeah. How you guys doing? We had 3 feet of snow or something?
Well, it wasn't the snow so much. We got a couple of inches of ice, and that's really made everything kind of a mess. I think we've got over 200,000 around the community still without power, but so we're praying for those folks here. But hopefully warm weather's on its way.
Yeah, good to see you. Hey, before I get into all this other stuff, I want to say to you and your team, thank you so very much for the comments that you filed with the FCC dealing with TV caps. I don't know if a lot of people understand that. For those of us in the industry, it's a big deal, and I read your comments thoroughly, and I just want to say thank you. They were spot on.
Oh, thanks, Perry. You know, it is a big issue. This gets reviewed by the FCC every 4 years, and they're a little bit behind on this one. This is actually the 2022 review. It got sort of railroaded like a lot of things during COVID, and so we really chimed in on this. We just think that so many things are changing in the landscape right now that the FCC shouldn't do anything to the rules. They should just hold things as they are and let a lot of this other technology and things run its course before they look at this.
Well, again, the strength of the NRB, you have now a respected voice at the table because of your hard work and the dedication of your team. And quite frankly, the team that you put together, that review was well worded. And I just want to say thanks. I'm with you, man. We got to stop this one.
Amen. Amen to that. Yeah.
All right. I want to come back to religious freedom. We watched in complete shock a church get loaded up with protesters in Minnesota. What's your take on that, and where is it leading?
Well, look, the problem, I think we've been seeing this for a number of years, and it's now, spilled into the church with this church service. But the anarchy that are coming from these kinds of protesters, the complete disregard, not only for the law, Perry, but just respect in general. Why would you barge into a church service that was in progress, full of people who are there for a very specific purpose? You have families, you have young children, you have all of these folks in the room, and then you have this group that just rushes in to protest. Quite honestly, they weren't even sure what they were there for, because they had identified that one of the pastors, not the lead pastor, was possibly a bivocational pastor and had a civic job, maybe working for the Department of Homeland Security. And then they decided they were going to target this church and make this, I guess, make this a media event for them, because they brought media with them. And so it's very alarming, Perry.
Was this a violation of First Amendment?
This is absolutely a civil rights violation. This was a violation of this church's civil rights. They were trespassing at the minimum, Perry. They were asked to leave. They didn't leave. They interrupted a worship service. That's a First Amendment free exercise thereof. So just a number of things there. Plus, Perry, there's something called the FACE Act out there. Mm-hmm. And the FACE Act was put together to Congress to protect against these kinds of incidents from happening. It's often used against pro-lifers when they're demonstrating or marching against abortion clinics. Recently, as I think it was about 8 years ago, right here in my hometown, there were 11 people that were arrested and charged under the FACE Act for praying in the hallway outside of an abortion clinic. President Trump earlier this year pardoned those people. But this kind of act that they did in this church service, that's a direct violation against the FACE Act. And so we're happy to see that, at least for now, the Justice Department has arrested 2, I think maybe 3 individuals, and are seeking more. And we hope that they really follow through with prosecution, because I think if you don't send a clear message here, Perry, we're going to see a lot more of this.
Okay, so they're very good at intimidation. Do you think that the average church understands where we are heading if we don't stop this?
No, I think that's the problem, Perry. I think the average church doesn't understand where we're heading. And I think they knew exactly what they were doing. Their goal, as you said, was intimidation, not particularly intimidation for that church, but the fact that they brought media with them. They knew this was going to be a media event. This was to send a message to all churches. If you want your church service to be disrupted like this, if you want to have protesters in your pews, then you keep getting involved in the governance issues, the policy issues of this country. And so that was a message that was sent clear to churches. And I hope churches understand we are called to have the courage to stand up against these kinds of incidences, not to back away from them.
I just had the president of Arizona Christian University on. Maybe you caught a little bit of that. And we were chit-chatting about biblical worldview. And it seems like today that the biblical worldview and just about everything the culture is trying to redefine, you could say life, sexuality, all the way down to free speech is being redefined. My concern is this. If this what happened in Minnesota Church isn't really dealt with forcefully and pushed back, what I don't hear across the country as a result of that were pastors speaking out about this. Some may have, but for the most part, a lot of just didn't touch it. Why? Because like everything else, it's been politicized, and they want to drop anything that's political. Do you think we understand the stealth of the enemy and what they're trying to do here?
I don't think we understand, Perry, what the word political means. I said this the other day. It's amazing to me that Christians are the only ones, and the only group in this country, certainly the only faith group, that anytime they exercise their faith, their beliefs, the things that they hold dear to them, if they exercise those in a public sector, and especially if they exercise them when it comes to the governance of their communities, their states, or the federal government, they're suddenly labeled as being political. Yet, we know that if the Islamists in this country do it, it's okay. If the Hindus in the country do it, it's okay. It's certainly okay if the secular atheists, agnostics in this country do it, then that's even better. But Christians should somehow take their worldview, take the beliefs, and really what we're talking about here are the beliefs that we hold dear. Somehow we should take those beliefs and keep them in the four walls of our church or our home, and they should never leave it. We're the only group that's called that when we exercise our rights, we're called radicals and extremists, Perry, and I hope pastors understand that. I hope they understand that they can't back away. They can't back away far enough from this to ever appease the left.
Do you think that, and I say this cautiously and even with a broken heart, do you think that we Christians are becoming complicit by not speaking out of the breaking of laws? In other words, we're becoming lawless because we're saying nothing.
Yeah, absolutely, Perry. I do think we are becoming lawless because we're not speaking up and we're not the ones that are really, giving truth to the culture. And look, we have the only truth, Perry. We understand that the role of government is to enforce the laws of this country against the lawless. And if you don't enforce those laws against lawless people, then your entire society will simply become lawless. And pastors are not doing either their congregations or their communities any favor by just, as I say, cowering away from these issues. Think about it for a second, Perry. What could be the most unloving thing you could do to a person than not to step up when you have the truth, to tell the truth, and instead leave them under a lawless, godless society? And that's the kind of leadership that they're going to have. I don't know how a pastor could step back and look at that and say, well, that's me loving my neighbor.
Are we communicating that as Christian communicators?
I think we're starting to see more and more pushback on this. I think as the left, and certainly we know as the enemy, pushes harder against the church, I think we're starting to see the church wisen up and say, oh, there really is a battle going on here. There really is a war in place. It's a spiritual war, and it's also a physical war that has spilt over. We're seeing that, I think, especially amongst the younger generations that are kind of rejecting this message, and they're looking for truth. We've had this spike in church attendance. We've had this spike in visits to Christian websites and to Christian media. So all of these, I think, show that the culture itself says this can't be the way we're meant to live.
Okay, let me take a quick break here and say to our viewers and listeners, always an honor to have Troy Miller with us, CEO of the National Religious Broadcasters. Go to nrb.org. That's the website. The big convention coming up in February. If you are involved in anything in ministry and you use any forms of media, this is the place to go and connect. And you can check it out, nrb.org. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Susanna, and I contracted KA Designs to do custom cabinets throughout my house. We chose a really beautiful maple wood that really creates like a nice airy space. Everything was custom, and it was really cool because I got to literally see it come to life in person. We love to entertain, and we have a large family, so everything came together perfectly, exactly what I wanted. I highly suggest KA Designs if you're looking to design your dream house. Go check them out in their showroom. You will not be disappointed.
Weekday mornings on the Dove, it's one of the longest running shows in broadcast history, the 700 Club. Informative, with the day's stories from a biblical perspective.
Israel finds itself fighting.
Trusted investigative reporting.
Our chief political analyst, David.
Encouraging, with uplifting stories of faith.
And then she heard a prayer. I immediately felt the Holy Spirit.
Be encouraged and informed with the 700 Club. Weekdays at 11 on the Dove TV. Get more at thedove.us.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Robertson, host of a brand new program on theDove, Ministries on the Move. Ministries on the Move spotlights the incredible work of how God is using everyday people and organizations, putting their faith into action, serving the hurting, strengthening families, and sharing the hope of the gospel in practical ways. Be inspired and discover these Ministries on the Move. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m., right here on theDove TV. Encouraging and informative. More at thedove.us.
Welcome back. Always an honor to have with us Troy Miller. He's the CEO of the National Religious Broadcasters, and you can go to nrb.org. It is the organization to belong to, and I have been for decades, and I just want to say an honor to do so. But they're there. They are our advocates all across the globe. Troy, to that point, the local Radio Freedom Act, thank God it got through some bipartisan connections there, and the potential of what they're calling the performance tax. How close did we come to dodging a bullet here?
Well, I think we came pretty close. There's a lot of forces trying to, push this through, and it's counteract the American Music Fairness Act. But look, we have a lot of support in Congress, and I think Congress is going to have to step back and take a look at the entire royalty structure. We've been band-aiding this for years with just little patches here, patches there. Or new taxes here, new taxes there. And so we're really pushing hard to get Congress to step back and take a look at the whole royalty system and really find out what's fair for the artist, for the publishers, and for those radio stations and for those who are playing the music. So that's going to be a big push for us going into this next Congress.
Okay, so what is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 organizations we pay money to?
5 major ones, and there's actually a half a dozen little ones out there that keep popping up as well. And then it's sort of kind of crazy, Perry, because you pay one tax for one to be on this broadcast, and this exact same broadcast, if it's streaming, it has a different tax. So it needs to be fixed.
Oh gosh, does it ever? All right, so where do you think media is heading these days with all of the technology? AI, I'll throw that in the mix for those of us in broadcasting, especially on the television side. We're looking at 3.0 versus 1.0. I don't know what keeps you up at night, but perhaps we're both being kept up by the same thing.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a technology guy by trade, so that's my background is in the whole technology. And of course, we've seen a lot of innovations over the last decade. And now, as you said, with AI, we're seeing just innovations that seem to be coming almost every 24 hours. We're looking at something new. AI is going to be a big discussion at the NRB convention coming up here in a few weeks. We have a whole stage dedicated to AI, but not just the productivity side of AI, the things it could do in both the radio studios and television studios, but also talk about the morality, the ethics, and some of the legalities around AI. We know there's a lot of things going on with deep fakes that are out there. We know there's a lot of plagiarism going on with people's data and people's information and their work and their content. So we have a lot to go there. Look, I've said this before, Perry. I think we're in the greatest age of communications that's ever existed in the history of mankind. We can instantly communicate around the globe. But with that comes also great responsibility. Responsibility for us as Christians to hold up to the high standards we've had. Earlier this year in our Barna study, we showed that Christian media has nearly a 66% approval rating across the general population as being both trustworthy and valuable. And so that's something I think we really have to concentrate on. It really sets us apart from mainstream media, whether it's news media or entertainment or information. And that's a challenge for us going forward.
That being said, we're also the fly in the ointment to the hardcore socialists that don't want Christian media. I know you watch that. Is that still a threat out there? I mean, how would we become vigilant with that?
Oh, absolutely. Look, mainstream media doesn't cover anything, you know, that as it relates to Christianity unless they can cover it either in an embarrassing or negative way. You know, the fact that less than 2% of the mainstream media has covered the vast amounts of Christian persecution that's been going on around the globe, and especially the events in Nigeria. That just tells you everything we need to know about mainstream media. And Perry, you hit it right on the head. Look, the one thing I think that the left understands is there is one institution that stands in their way from just rolling across this country and probably rolling across the world, and that's the Church of Jesus Christ. That is the Christian church. And they know that they have to silence, marginalize that message if they have any chance for being successful in what they're trying to do. So that's something, Perry, we have to really be aware of, and we have to step up to the plate and answer that. We can't just set aside passively back while this happens.
With that, Troy, and I know in the secular broadcast world, there's a lot of consolidating going on. And at the end of the day, it could be threatening to the local. It goes back to the CAP Act that you wrote the wonderful piece on. But I'm really concerned about the local Christian broadcaster, if they understand the world that we're in and how fragile it is.
Yeah, I think so, Perry. You know, our theme this year for the NRB convention is that a new era of Christian communication begins now. Some of that has to do with the technology advancements that have been going on, certainly AI. But a lot of that, Perry, we're going to talk about has to do with the threats to Christian communicators in America and around the globe, and the threats to the local church. You know, local churches are Christian communicators as much as the broadcasters are in their communities. Mm-hmm. And if we don't understand that those threats, those are real threats that would like to permanently silence our voice from the public sector, then that's what will happen. Our voice will be permanently silenced from the public sector. So we're asking the Christian communicators, this is an age where courage is going to be one of the most important things that we can have, one of the most important characteristics that we can hold, character traits we can have, because we have to stand up and not fall for the populism, seeker-friendly kind of movement that's been in so many pulpits and so many studios across this country. If we're going to reach a culture for the truth of the gospel, and we're going to impact that culture for the better.
What do you think the biggest threat is, Troy?
I think there's two big threats right now in America, and I think that we're missing both of them. I think we underestimate, as you said, the weaponization of corporate America against the Christian message. And I also think the next biggest threat is the rise of Islam in America. Sharia law, which is being pushed now in a number of states, is completely 100% opposed to not only the American way of life, our constitutional republic, but it is completely opposed to the Christian worldview. Those are the two biggest threats, I think, around the world, and unfortunately, they have merged together to battle against the church.
Because my other concern when watching that is, will the equal access law ever come back to life where, I mean, we fought that in days gone by, but if you see cities like New York and what's happening in Minneapolis and Minnesota and everything else, if that influences the next, administration goes left and the FCC changes and they bring back that, we would have to give equal time to opposing theology.
Yeah, isn't that kind of sounds just crazy? I do think there's a number of court cases, though, Perry, that are out there in our favor. I think we have the courts from now. We certainly have to act while we have this friendly administration in place to put a number of safeguards in there. That's why we're chiming up on a Supreme Court case that the FCC has right now. It's their ability to do fines and take away licenses without due process. While we like this friendly FCC we have today, we know that it's not always going to be friendly. And so we're fighting that any broadcasters would have a due process by jury if that does come to fruition down the road.
I think people need to understand that of all of the media platforms out there, broadcast is the one that's regulated.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Not just regulated, it's extremely regulated to the point where the FCC holds the threat of taking your license away, and then you're done. Your broadcasting career is over, and nobody else has that kind of thing holding over their head. The streaming platforms don't have that. The internet platforms don't have it. Matter of fact, the internet platforms have a law, this Section 230, that gives them a bit of leeway and in some cases a free pass on a lot of things that they do. So you're right, Perry. The broadcasters are held under stricter regulation than any other form of communication.
All right, Troy, plug the convention. People got 2.5 weeks to get a ticket and get there.
Yeah, it's the largest gathering of Christian communicators, Christian media professionals under one roof. It's in Nashville, Tennessee, February 17th through the 20th. And it's opened the door to everybody. If you're a Christian media person, you should definitely be there. But if you're one of the audience members, you just want to come by, meet Perry, meet some of your other favorite people, well, they're going to be in the halls as well.
Okay, well, by the way, will the snow be gone by then?
Yeah, the snow should be gone by then.
Okay. One other quick question, and I'll let you go. How are you doing internationally? How's the NRB doing internationally? I know you got a lot of connections out there. You're supporting a lot of organizations. How are they doing out there?
Well, look, as far as the NRB is doing, we're growing internationally. We've had more attendees international the last 3 years at our convention. We're expecting that to be up again this year. We're working with more organizations around the globe. But at the same time, Perry, it's important to do that because Christian persecution is up around the globe as well. There are a number of places, like you said here, around the world where right now to be a Christian broadcaster is kind of putting a target on your back. So there's a lot of work we have to continue to do with this administration. But look, God's moving forward and the gospel isn't going to be stopped. So as long as we have the courage to speak out and speak up.
One last quick, and I keep getting one more, but let me squeeze it in. AM radio, you've been working hard to protect AM radio. How's it going?
We're hoping that this round, actually we were hoping before the convention, this would make it to a floor vote. We're waiting for these last appropriation bills that's taken priority in the House right now. They're trying to get a health care bill passed. We've been promised that as soon as that health care bill is up and out of the way, then the AM radio bill is going to get to the floor. It's the most bipartisan bill in Congress, 350 co-sponsors in the House, over 60 in the Senate. It should breeze through once it gets a floor vote and then be on the president's desk. So we're going to keep the pressure up to make sure that happens this quarter.
Again, thank you for you and your team. You guys have been a real hawk on that. So thank you, brother. We pray for you. And we'll see you in a couple weeks and get some rest. when you're not shoveling snow, take a nap, okay?
All right.
Good to see you, friend. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Ministries on the Move spotlights how God is using everyday people and organizations to bring light, love, and transformation to others through inspiring conversations and real-life stories. Join me Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on theDove TV.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
Hunters, where the true target is the truth of the gospel. Watch Twin Factor Wednesdays and weekends on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative. Good morning. You're tuned to the Dove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Yes, this is. Welcome to the morning show.
Look who's here.
I am here, yes.
Yes, Paulina. All right.
Yes, here, and Jerry.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, yes. Grab your coffee. Let's get the show going.
That's right. Let's get the week going. You're going to be with us all week long.
I am, yes. Perry is in Nashville. The National Religious Broadcasters Convention is happening this week, and this is their once-a-year gathering that they're having. So Perry's representing the Dove, meeting people, getting awards, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff, and we can't wait till he gets home because we find out all the events that took place, the awards that were given out, and all the little free tchotchkes that come home with Perry.
Yes.
Yeah, we get pens and tablets and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, the last couple of times he was smart in terms of getting it all here. He just shipped the box instead of putting it in his suitcase.
Yeah.
And so a few days after NRB is over, we'll get this shipment and he'll just put it all out there on the table, free for all.
I wonder if he walks around with a shopping bag because he's going to the different booths and the different displays and picking things up. Yeah,
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they give you a little bag there.
Okay.
I've never been, but from some of the pictures I've seen on those conventions, you get a little bag with the logos and stuff. So, yeah.
All right.
How was your weekend?
Oh, pretty good. You watching the Olympics at all?
I haven't. I used to love Olympics. Yeah, and I used to, and I see bits and pieces just on social media. I love figure skating. I love those kind of things.
Pam too. She really likes it, and I try to, be equal opportunity, and I try to sit and watch with her. I have limited interest in it. I would rather see, when it comes to skating, I want to see somebody check somebody into the boards, take the puck, and go down the rink.
Those could be fun. What is it, bobsled?
Bobsled, yeah.
I like that.
And then there's luge, where you lay down on a sled feet first and you head down at 70 miles an hour. And then there's called skeleton, where you flip around the other way. Now you go head first at 77 miles an hour. Yeah.
I blame social media for my lack of interest in Olympics.
Okay, why?
Because there's so much else on my phone. I can look at all those reels that suck you in.
Yeah.
But when I was little and, growing up in Siberia, what else are you going to do?
Right.
You don't really have, you have 2 channels. And
so
when Olympics came on, it was a big deal. And
was it good coverage?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd be glued to TV. You'd be rooting for your country, for others that you get to know.
Yes.
Counting the medals. So I loved it. I still do. I just don't have time to watch because I'm watching reels.
Yeah, okay. Well, the nice thing about the way we watch these days is that the way that the networks have coverage, you have some options.
Yeah.
So you can watch a live event, you can watch the network coverage later in the day where they've condensed it and put the package together, or you can watch replays of the full events themselves, which is kind of cool because when you watch a replay, after the event is over, they stay in the venue as they get ready for the medal ceremony. So you get to see the competitors talking to each other, interacting, congratulating each other, and all this stuff that goes on. And you kind of get a feel for the venue and the crowd and stuff. It's a little bit more personal, but so I've been enjoying that.
You know, with the advance of technology where everyone can record stuff, now we're seeing a lot more than we used to. We used to just see what they were showing us. Now the athletes themselves are bringing us behind those curtains.
And you know, of course, we always look at the Olympics and we look at all these competitors from different countries, all, you know, showing generally pretty good sportsmanship. They all get along, and we think, you know,
until they get a mic.
Right. Yeah, can't we just all get along and leave that other stuff behind us? It's kind of fun for those reasons. But
it is. You're right.
But you're right.
That's a great. That's a great point, because when you watch Olympics, you kind of wonder, why can't the world and the world leaders do the same?
Yeah. And in fact, I think back a story I read about the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin, and of course that was Hitler's, you know, big Olympic and showcase for Germany and everything. And Jesse Owens disrupted everything. You know, a great athlete from the United States, and of course, you know, he was a black athlete and hurt all of Hitler's stereotypes of, you know, of race and everything. But he was in the long jump competition, and he had his mark wrong, and he was fouling on his jumps, and he had only one jump left, and he was long. And the German competitor, who was in first place, went off to the side with him and talked to him how to adjust his stance, helped him. He nailed the next jump, won the gold medal for it, and the German competitor got silver. And I thought, you know what? What did he get after the Olympics? I don't know the rest of that story, but it's a great example of that type of sportsmanship that goes on during the Olympics. So hopefully we'll see more of that. And guess what else it is today?
What?
It is President's Day, taking place during the birth month of our country's two most prominent presidents, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. While the day once honored George Washington on his birthday, February 22nd, the day now never lands on a single president's birthday.
Never?
Never. No, they picked it because it's president, so anyway. It's also...
Well, hold on. Let me ask you this, because you're a history buff.
I like history.
You love history. What's your, do you have a favorite president?
Well, I think it's hard not to have Abraham Lincoln as your favorite president. You know, the first Republican president, the party that started to stop slavery, and the man who did everything he could to keep the country together. And so, yeah, I think, you know, there are a lot of admirable presidents after that. Who could not love Ronald Reagan?